Gentlemen, ladies, are you ready? Good evening. It is now 6:03 p.m. on Tuesday, July 22nd, 2025. What day is it? Year? Yeah. And I would like to call this meeting to order. I'd like to welcome those who are participating in the Board of Education meeting in person and those watching the meeting via live streaming on YouTube. We would ask that anyone addressing the board to please use the microphone at the podium and to identify themselves for the record. As a reminder, the link to this meeting is on the district webpage under the Board of Education. The streaming will run through the end of the meeting. In the event there is a disruption in the streaming, I will pause the meeting until it is reestablished. We have Mr. Dave Vickers absent this evening. All other members of the board are present and we have a quorum. We're on to item B, Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand with me while we have the Pledge of Allegiance. Mr. Bennett, would you please lead?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible.
Thank you very much. Please be seated. We're on item C, the announcement of meetings. Mrs. Chavez, would you please announce the meeting?
This meeting has been announced in accordance with the Open Meetings Resolution and is a legally constituted meeting of the Wosuna Schools Board of Education.
Thank you very much. We're on item D, approval of the agenda. Mrs. Chavez, are there any changes or deletions to the agenda?
There are no changes or deletions to the agenda.
Thank you. I would stand for a motion regarding the approval of the agenda.
So moved.
Thank you, Mrs. Simoia.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Bennett. Mrs. Simoia has moved and Mr. Bennett has seconded to approve the agenda as submitted. Is there any discussion? Having no discussion, I will call for the vote. Mrs. Simoia?
Yes.
Mr. Bennett?
Yes.
Mr. Otero?
Yes.
And I vote yes. Motion passes 4-0. We're on item E, public comment. Mrs. Chavez, do we have any speakers that have signed up to provide comment at tonight's meeting?
We do not have any speakers for tonight's meeting.
Thank you. We are on item F, approval of the consent items. I would stand for a motion regarding the consent items.
Madam President,
Mr. Otero?
I move that we consent the entire consent sheet is presented tonight with the following exceptions. Item number R4, A, approval of purchases. Arkham Technologies Incorporated District Wi-Fi Equipment Technology 6003 mil. Item number R4B, Apple Computer and R Repair, New Mexico. Charging stations for school sites, Technology Department 31603 mil. Item number R5A, approval of construction contract. Change order for Los Lunas High School Athletic Field Improvement Project CES, care of Anchorville Construction Incorporated. Facilities Department 31162 bond. And item number R6, Finance Committee item. Meeting held on July 15th, 2025. And that's approval of deletion of fixed assets.
Thank you, Mr. Otero. Do I have a second? Thank you, Mr. Bennett. Mr. Otero has moved and Mr. Bennett has seconded to approve the consent agenda and action items with the exceptions of R4A, R4B, 5A, and 6, and R6. Those items having been detailed by Mr. Otero in his motion. Is there any discussion? Having no discussion, I'm going to call for the vote. Mr. Otero,
Yes.
Mr. Bennett,
Yes.
Mrs. Simoia,
Yes.
and I vote yes. Motion passes 4-0. We are on item, G was an approval.
Yes.
We are on item H, presentation of the finance plan and market update. Mrs. Chavez?
Thank you, Madam President, Dr. Osowski. I will actually turn this over to Mrs. Tracy so she can introduce our guest for this evening.
Madam President, members of the board, Superintendent Chavez. So we have Eric Harrigan from RBC. For the presentation.
Thank you. Well, good evening, Madam President, members of the board, Superintendent Chavez, Eric Harrigan with RBC Capital Markets. So later on in the agenda, you will have a resolution to authorize the issuance of bonds, and the presentation that I'll provide you covers that. And so one of the things that we often talk about, because it's really integral to the issuance of your general obligation bonds, not only the issuance of your bonds, but also future elections, is your tax base. And Los Lunas has had very strong growth in your tax base. This past year, you saw about 15% growth in your tax base. We do have preliminary numbers for 2025, and we anticipate that based upon those numbers, that your tax base will grow about 5%. You'll be a little bit over 1.4 billion in your total tax base. Because your tax base has grown quite rapidly, we do anticipate that come the election in 2027, that we'll be looking at a slightly higher par amount than what we were originally anticipating. One of the things, though, that we are paying very close attention, and on page 3 of the presentation, that in November of 2024, voters in New Mexico approved 2 constitutional amendments, which increased the exemption that veterans receive. It increased both the standard exemption as well as the exemption that disabled veterans receive. And the exemption that disabled veterans receive is tied to their disability percentage. Very, very difficult to calculate what that impact is. We will have better information next May once we get those preliminary values and exemptions, but we anticipate it to have around a 6% impact to the district's tax base. As I talk about the upcoming bonds, we have taken that into consideration so that the district can continue to maintain its historical debt service tax rate. And I'm on page 4, which shows sort of the detailed breakdown of that potential impact on your tax base. On page 5 of the presentation, we have your historical tax rates. You have operational mill levy, an SB 9 and HB 33, as well as your general obligation bond tax rate. And I'm on page 5 of the presentation. The issuance of the upcoming $6 million of general obligation bonds, we can go to the next slide, please. We'll continue to maintain the district's debt service tax rate of $8.15, which has been in place for some time. On the next page, on page 6, we show the district's outstanding debt. You pay your debt off very rapidly. That allows you to layer in future debt issuances and continue to maintain the tax rate on the next page. Again, as I mentioned, your tax base is a critical component of this, because the faster your tax base grows, or if your tax base contracts, that determines how quickly you can repay your debt and ultimately impacts future capacity. Assuming, current growth in the tax base along with the veterans exemption, and I'm on page 7 of the presentation. For the following tax year, we're projecting a small contraction in your tax base. But of course, depending upon, how those exemptions actually come in, will dictate not only the amount that we sell next year, but the how quickly we're able to amortize that. After the issuance of the bonds, the district will be about 60% bonded to capacity. For this upcoming bonds that are being sold, these were originally approved by voters in 2023. This will be the second issuance of bonds. The district will have 12 million of remaining authorized bonds from voters after the issuance of these, which the district expects to would sell over the next couple of years. The amount to be sold will be dependent upon what happens to your tax base and also based upon the needs of the district. And then finally, on the time schedule page, subject to your approval this evening, the New Mexico Finance Authority is scheduled to approve the loan. We will then price later in August and in September, and we would close towards the end of September, and that's when funds would be available for the district to expend on the projects. I do have a couple of slides on the market, which I won't really cover, but I'll just kind of very high level. You can probably, sum up the current market condition with just the word volatility. We've seen a lot of volatility in the market. The markets are just trying to understand, the impacts of, various executive actions on what is going to happen to the inflation rate, the anticipation of is the Federal Reserve going to cut rates, continue to hold rates steady. We've just seen quite a bit of volatility. Rates have trended up from last year, and we anticipate that the borrowing rate will be somewhere between 3.5% to 4% for these bonds. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Members of the board, do you have any questions?
Thank you.
Mr. Otero?
No.
Mrs. Seboya?
No, Eric, thank you.
For the public, one of the things that I would like to make sure that you know is that this is some really high and deep stuff that impacts anybody paying property taxes. And I know that this went through pretty quickly because we have a long agenda tonight. However, this gentleman has been with the district for quite some time, or he's an external vendor that serves the district. And in our finance committee meeting is when we spend a great deal of time going through chart by chart, line by line, asking the questions that the board needed to know in order to understand what commitment we are making financially and what commitment we have made financially. So although we're not asking a lot of questions here during the finance committee, we ran over our allotted time by about an hour because we kept him for extra questioning sessions to make sure that we were comfortable. So I don't want to give you the impression that we absorbed all of this in 33 seconds. We actually spent quite a bit of time, and he's been with us and we've seen some of his other presentations. So we're familiar with the layout. We're familiar with the terminology. So thank you very much for the presentation. I appreciate it very much. Thank you for the updates. It's nice to know. And you're absolutely right about volatility. We seem to turn around and get new information about every day. So that impacts us financially one way or another. So thank you very, very much. We're on item I, the consideration of an approval of a resolution, the approval of a notice of sale of general obligation bonds, and to submit application to the New Mexico Finance Authority for financing via RBC Capital Markets LLC. One moment. I need to pause for just a moment here.
Madam President, I know Art is tied up in a potential another meeting, so I'm willing to talk about and address the resolution that's before you if you'd like to proceed, or we can wait for Art.
Let's go ahead. Thank you. Thanks for pitching in. Appreciate it.
Sure, absolutely. So, so before you is a resolution authorizing the issuance and sale of bonds that voters approved in November of 2023. As mentioned in my previous presentation, the issuance of those bonds is in the amount of 6 million. The bonds will be placed through the New Mexico Finance Authority, and this is consistent with the issuance process that the district has done in the past. The terms and conditions are also consistent, and the board is effectively delegating to the superintendent to approve the sale and the final terms, which we will come back and report to the board after that sale has been done. And so as in the previous presentation, we anticipate that pricing to occur in the first week of September, and then we'll be back later that month to report the final sale results. And then you'll have funds to expend on the capital projects for the district at the end of September. And Art, if I missed anything,
Late to class, Mr. Mo? Thank you very much. Are there any questions from the board? No. I will go back. Do I have a motion for the approval of the resolution for the notice of the sale of general obligation bonds and to submit the application to the New Mexico Finance Authority for the financing?
Madam President, so moved.
Thank you, Mrs. Simoia. I will second that. Is there any discussion? Again, I want to remind the public that we've had Mrs. Simoia and I sit on the finance committee, and we've had ample opportunity to go through this presentation and ask all of the clarifying questions that we needed. Nothing, and this is not my forte, but nothing in this particular presentation looked like it stood out as an alarm. Would you say that that would be a fair statement? In other words, the projections have been what we have heard in the past. The tax basis is what we have heard. We've been doing it for 5 years. That this was on schedule as the board initially approved, and that was basically dividing up the mill or the bond monies over in equal installments, if you will, if I could use everyday language. And that the interest rate was nothing, is not a surprise to us. Is that a fair overarching summary?
That is very fair. This is consistent with what the district has done in the past in terms of the final maturity, the estimated interest rate, as I mentioned, between 3.5% and 4%, completely dictated upon what the interest rate market environment, is at the time. One of the reasons that the Los Lunas School District goes to the New Mexico Finance Authority is that they are a AAA rated entity. And so you know that you're assured to get a very, the lowest, interest rate that you possibly can.
The other thing I think it's interesting for the public to know is with the help of RBC, we do pay these off rapidly. So we are not expending public funds on a lot of unnecessary interest. So we have wise advisement, saged advisement. I know I've sat in a finance committee meeting where kind of did a little finger waving about some thoughts that we were raising. And it was like, no, that would not be prudent in terms of being good fiscal stewards. So they are not here to please us. They are here to advise us appropriately. And in my experience with you for 19 months or so, you guys have done that. And it's been with good caution and fair. So I have felt comfortable with it. Is there any other discussion before I call for the vote? Mr. Otero?
I just have a comment. Based on my experience and my past experience, we've dealt with RBC Capital for many years, and I can assure the board and the public that these gentlemen have given us sound advice, and we've the kids of this district have done well with that such advice. So, thank you.
You bet. Any others? I'm gonna call for the vote. It was my motion, but president should not lead. So Mrs. Simoia, would you second?
I'll vote yes.
It was your motion, sorry. Yes.
Yes, that's all right.
Sure. Mr. Otero,
Yes.
Mr. Bennett,
Yes.
and I vote yes. Passes 4-0. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Melendez, for your help and for your ongoing and steadfast advisement as well. So he's an outstanding counsel for the board, and he does help us with all of our fiscal deeds. And he's been leading us in a solid direction. So we appreciate your stewardship there. Thank you very much.
Sign it off. Yeah.
Okay, so I need to take a small break because we do have to sign this so that these gentlemen can get it filed. So we will be on break at 6:23. This will take no more than 5 minutes.
Every single time I change the camera, it goes off the television. So it's put back in the television. So if it doesn't move the first time, look at it again, or let me know that it's not.
Calling this meeting back to order at 6:28 PM. Thank you very much for your patience. That was a paperwork that just committed the district to a little bit of money there, so that's a little scary to be signing that when it's not your checkbook. It is, but you know. Okay, we are moving on to item J. This is a first for us. We're very excited about this. This is a report on the economic development updates by Victoria Archuleta from the village of Los Lunas. She is the senior economic developer. We welcome you. Please go to the podium and we look forward to hearing from you.
Thank you. Good evening, Chair Osowski, members of the board and Superintendent Chavez, and members of the community. I appreciate the opportunity to be able to present tonight. As mentioned, I serve as the senior economic developer for the village of Los Lunas. Next week, I'm celebrating my 2-year anniversary in this position, but have been doing business development predominantly in the tourism hospitality space and communications for the last 10 years. So I've had the opportunity and privilege to work for companies like Hilton Corporation, HP, made my way through nonprofits and, really found a calling in economic development. And what better community to be doing economic development than here in the village of Los Lunas. And, I know a lot of you are very familiar with how fast we're growing. Those of you who have born and raised here, had families here for generations know that we've changed a lot in the last 20 years, 10 years especially, and very rapidly in the last 5 years. So I know you have a very lengthy agenda, so I'm going to try to just be very concise and keep this to about 10 or 15 minutes and allow time for questions. But I do get very passionate about, the work that I do, and so I can keep going. So Superintendent Chavez, if you can give me a time warning to cut it off.
I'll have Mr. Seiss help me. He has some gestures.
Yeah. He's gonna vote.
Where did I? Okay, so in the village of Los Lunas, again, some of you may be familiar with these companies. Some of them are a little bit newer in the last, 5 to 10 years, but these are our largest private employers. So again, our largest public employers, Los Lunas Schools being, of course, one of those, the village and the county. But our largest private employers include the Walmart Distribution Center. They just celebrated their 25th year in operations here in the village of Los Lunas. They were essentially the first big company and big name to really establish here in Los Lunas and Los Motos Business Park. And because of that name recognitions and the supply chain that also feeds into Walmart, other companies have followed in the decades past. So Walmart's footprint, and the reason I start off with them is they service all of the state of New Mexico and Southern Colorado, also West Texas from Amarillo down to the El Paso markets. Now, why is that important? Because I think that really indicates the importance of Los Lunas' physical location, where I-25 cuts directly through our community. And although we're not immediately on I-40 through New Mexico Highway 6 out further west, we do connect to through the I-40, and we are the village, part of the I-40 trade port corridor with Bernalillo and Sandoval counties. And so that's important to note because a lot of the goods, commodities, and things that are coming from overseas, they're coming through the port of Los Angeles and Long Beach, and they're making their way either by freight or rail through I-40, and they're coming here into Los Lunas, either to be transferred, transported, and exchanged to other parts of the country. Amazon is another prime example of that, where again, it's coming through I-40, New Mexico Highway 6, and they have become one of our largest employers in the past year that they opened last, actually they're celebrating a year in August. So officially been open and operating for about a year. But Los Lunas has a very strategic location, and my job and in my role doing economic development is really to try to promote that externally, mostly to big businesses across the country. So I do travel pretty often for work, and just singing the praises of our community, and it's very exciting for me. I do believe that we are going to continue to grow, and hopefully, if I do my job right, we'll see another very rewarding company come in the next, hopefully 5 to 10 years. But I do have to say there's been a lot of work ahead of me arriving here, so I certainly can't take credit. There was a lot of heavy lifting done, by our current and previous mayors and councils, members of the community who have really, poured their heart and soul into making Los Lunas what it is, and especially for new residents like myself. And I say new resident, I've been working here 2 years. I officially just moved here at the beginning of June, and my 15-year-old will be starting at Los Lunas High School in a couple weeks. So a lot of changes for us, but I mean that I really felt like Los Lunas is a great place to be. I'm going to put my money where my mouth is. I was commuting from Albuquerque, and so now officially being a resident, bringing my kiddo into the school system, I can say that with full confidence that this is a good place for other companies, other, CEOs, managers to relocate here, bring their spouses and families into the school systems and into our communities. And so one of the first things that a company will ask me, externally as I'm writing proposals and responding to inquiries is, tell me about your school district. And thankfully, I've been able to establish a really positive relationship, now with Superintendent Chavez, and then also members, just different teachers at Los Lunas High School especially, but also Valencia and Century High School, where I've been able to pull that information that I've needed in order to submit to external companies. Because, that's a big deal. When the CEO is saying, hey, where in, Southwest United States am I going to put my business? Los Lunas has a great school system. It's a great community. There's amenities here, and whatever's not here, it's just 15, 20 minutes up the road in Albuquerque. That's a major selling point. So I applaud the work that you're doing as a school board, all of our educators here in the community, because there is no understatement that our education system is the foundation and future success of our entire community. So, and it's and when we talk about a talent pipeline, it's kind of funny, I guess, to think about a third grader as, our next industrial worker. But these are the things that we need to start thinking about and talking about. And the thing I'm seeing from my role in the community is we really need to work together and collaboratively to bridge the gap between what's happening in our K through 12 education system, higher ed or vocational training programs and certifications, and then what's actually happening at a very rapid pace in real time out in the real world. We have AI coming in very quickly with Meta's third expansion. And when Meta completes their third expansion in the near future, it'll be their largest data center in the world. So we're already on the map and on the radar for a lot of other tech firms that see this development, see the ease of doing business in Los Lunas, and are also interested and attracted to that type of development that we're able to offer. So, and I'm just on slide 1. I'm going to keep going. So,
Move that along.
yes. So these are our major employers. I work very closely with them. I do partner with both chambers of commerce, but I do sit on the board for the Greater Valencia County Chamber of Commerce. So I don't want to leave, small and medium-sized businesses unacknowledged. In my economic development department, it's just me. So I really leverage the support of the chambers, also the Small Business Development Center, to really help with outreach to other size businesses. Community assets, again, just I do consider us a very pro-business community. Availability of industrial sites, transportation access, available workforce. And again, that really goes to available workforce and available housing, I think is really important to highlight, because everyone sees this. They're driving up and down I-25 or, east, west on Highway 6. We're building houses so fast and selling them at an incredibly fast rate. And as Albuquerque is experiencing a housing shortage and even a housing crisis, in the city of Albuquerque, they're about 30,000 units short of what they need to really address their housing crisis. I live this myself, working with my realtor and seeing, what I could get in Albuquerque versus you get more bang for your buck here in Los Lunas. That is a major selling point. My entire neighborhood is all young families and young kids, which is really exciting to see. And I think there's a lot of young families and young professionals that are buying their first homes here. And, I definitely tell all my millennial friends, don't sleep on Los Lunas, because we're growing very fast. And, in terms of drive time. You can get to most places in Albuquerque just as fast from Los Lunas that you can from places in Rio Rancho. So that's also very attractive to more localized and regional businesses. Again, also proximity to Albuquerque and Sandia National Labs. We do have a considerable workforce that are residents of Valencia County that work at both Kirtland Air Force Base and Sandia Labs. I do sit on the Business Advisory Board for the Workforce Training Center. I think this is a very special asset that I do promote externally to businesses that are interested in coming. Things like manufacturers that have very specialized type of work. A good example is Walcomminoy. They have an apprenticeship program that they have through the University of New Mexico Workforce Training Center. And it's not 19-year-old apprentices. These are, 4 of them are gentlemen in their 40s and 50s making significant career changes. But because it's a furnace, you melt very specialized metal components at a very high temperature. There's very specific mathematical training that needs to go into that. That was the establishment of the apprenticeship program to fill the gap and actually get them to where they need to be to provide them full-time jobs. So workforce development is definitely something that falls under my purview as well. New hospital, and the reason I like to bring this up is because I think this is going to open a lot of opportunities for medical healthcare related jobs. We're going to have the opportunity for physicians to come in, for nurses to be here. I don't know exactly all the details. This is a county-led project, and it's going to be Loveless, but I think where at the K through 12 level, and we're starting to kind of tee up the idea to middle schoolers and high schoolers, like you can have a very well-paying nursing, medical, healthcare related job in your community. And I think that's very attractive and something that our students need to be aware of. New infrastructure. This is something that I'm really excited about. We have our new Los Lunas Boulevard Corridor project. That's the big interchange project that's on the southern end of our community where Los Moros and Camelot kind of meet. We're officially going to have our groundbreaking on Thursday, August 14th. So it's really happening. It's been like 25 years in the making. Yeah. Yeah, that has been a long time coming. And, I get to come in at the very tail end and just help plan the whole shindig. So it's a lot of fun, but something that is really, again, going to change the dynamic and the overall flow of traffic and accessibility to businesses and residents. I did touch on Meta. They are a big deal. I mean, they know they contribute a lot of grant fundings to the schools, to the community. I don't know all the things that they do, but they have been a great partner here for us in Valencia County. And again, their presence here has really put us on the international tech map. And it's very exciting for me to go out to conferences and I say, well, I'm from Los Lunas, New Mexico. Oh, you have that data center. Yes, that they recognize our community and who we are. So that's, again, I bring this up because, and I want to share a quick story. I went and presented to some high schoolers and I asked them, how many of you are familiar with Meta? Like 2 kids raised their hand. I think they were like juniors or seniors. And then, well, how many of you are familiar with Instagram? Or Facebook, sorry, Facebook, a few more kids raise their hand. Okay, what about Instagram? You got half the class raising their hand. Did you know that it's being powered by this gigantic facility that's right across the street from the high school? And that just kind of showed me that there is a disconnect between the big employers and opportunities that we have here and what our students are actually aware of. And maybe it was a morning class. I don't know if I just had a tough crowd, but 16-year-olds can be a little intimidating, but I think that where more employers can be invited in, I often get invited in, especially to DECA. I was a DECA student in high school. I'm always happy to go in, do resume building, resume workshops. And I think the more we get our employers involved, the more that we can, again, connect those dots for the students. This is a map of Los Lunas. Of course, we've grown by way of population growth, also annexation of different lands. A lot of my work is very much focused on all that purple area, which is our industrial park. There's 3 distinct business parks, mostly because there's 3 distinct different owners. Huning Business Park is where Amazon is located. And right now there's not anything yet at the Central New Mexico Rail Park, but that's going to be our next westward expansion for the village in terms of industrial operations. And then workforce data, I'm going to fly through this pretty quickly. When we talk about our workforce here in Los Lunas, it's not just the people that live in the 87031 zip code or municipal boundary. It is very much who exists in our 1 hour driving radius. So about 60 miles. And that's a pretty considerable number. And as I get through some of these slides, a lot of our workforce is actually coming from South Valley, Albuquerque. Average household income, I do want to point that out. It's actually substantially high. It's in the, over 80,000. I don't have my glasses. I can't see that far. But the average household income, again, the presence of these big companies has really shifted the socioeconomic dynamics of our community in a really positive way. RBC just said the income tax base has grown, and that will continue to grow, and I think be a really positive thing for the school systems. Again, this is just kind of our workforce data. It's a heat map of, again, very specific to our municipal boundary. Where is our workforce coming from? You see a couple of red dots in the south. That's kind of Socorro area. You have mostly Valencia County and a little bit of Isleta Pueblo. But then you have, if you look up where Albuquerque is spelled out, we have a considerable amount of workforce still coming from Albuquerque. And I do know that anecdotally, just talking with people, we have engineering jobs that are going to the data center from grants and as far north as Algodones. Now, I'm sure they're on a hybrid schedule, but that's a considerable distance for, again, a 6-figure tech job. But I mean, that type of salary can completely transform one family and pull a whole family of 4 out of poverty. Growth that I definitely want to point out, housing, it does not particularly fall under economic development, but it sort of does in that these are projections that I wanted to share. Again, this is super tiny, but there's over 5,000 homes planned for the future. Now, currently in development, we have just shy of 700 homes in development, and that's either by some form of permitting or actual construction. Our next major phase of growth, which we've already broken ground on, kind of phase 1. Let's see, does this work? Oh, it does. So you can see here, this is kind of the UNM Workforce Training Center around here. This is I-25. This area that's called Los Senderos, just between the hill and I-25, there's almost 5,000 homes anticipated in that area alone. So, and we have about 300 currently in progress near the Workforce Training Center. Both of those sections are LGI developments. So we have all the same big home builders that Albuquerque and Rio Rancho does. And like I said, they're selling at considerably better prices than most people can get in those other areas. So a lot of growth on the west side, a lot of growth also behind the high school as we approach the kind of the Pueblo boundary. But that is going to change again in the next 10 years. Our community is going to blend a little bit closer into Belen. We have Rancho Cielo down here where we have some solar fields, but I mean, we're gonna, again, see a lot of infill over the next 20 years. And then the new I-25 corridor will open up access from Los Senderos, from I-25 down to 314 over the river, through the woods, and then to New Mexico 47. But yeah, that is the bulk of my presentation. I wanted to fly through that, but I do, if you have time, I stand for any questions.
Thank you very much. Very informative.
Thank you. And
Terrifying. I don't know how anybody else is feeling, but I'm terrified. That's a lot.
It's a lot of homes coming.
Strap in. Are there any questions from the board? Mr. Otero?
No.
Mrs. Simonia?
Just a couple of quick comments. Do you work with AREA, the Albuquerque Regional Economic Alliance?
I do. So the Village of Los Lunas, we're actually a public member, a public sector member, and Councilor Cruz Munoz is actually the chair for the Public Advisory Committee to AREA. So it includes all the 4 major counties in the metro. And then I, next year, will be serving as the chair for the Economic Development Professionals Committee for AREA. So we're very involved, very engaged. Now Los Lunas is going to be fully represented on that board. And then Ruth Huning Gonzalez sits also as a board member at large.
Yes, she does. And then the other thing that we keep hearing when I attend the area meetings, on behalf of healthcare,
Mhm.
is the site readiness.
Mhm.
And I looked at your map and we have lots of dirt
Mhm.
and no access to roads, infrastructure, utilities, water.
Yeah.
There's a lot of houses coming up.
Yes.
So, that's another conversation, but loved your presentation. Thank you as it relates to the Board of Education
Yeah.
and letting us know where we're gonna be having lots of students, so we'll get
Yes.
together. Thank you for that.
No, thank you. That was very informative. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And I really appreciate this opportunity. Always happy to, come back with more updates. And I did leave a little bit of information towards the back for the Greater Valencia County Chamber of Commerce and then the Valencia County News Bulletin business directory. So a little bit more small, medium-sized business information.
That's terrific. Thank you very much and welcome to Tiger Nation.
Great.
As a brand new mom. We're
Thank you.
excited to have you and your child.
Is it, well,
Your schools.
thanks. I'm my sister's legal guardian. So she's my 15-year-old sister and she's nervous, but she's excited. So thank you.
Great. I'm sure that she will find a home up there and we hope that she's very happy, as we do for all of our students. But thank you for coming. Thank you
Great.
very much.
Thank you.
This item was informational purposes only. No action is needed or warranted from the Board of Education. We are on to item K, which is the Superintendent of Schools report. Mrs. Chavez, I turn this over to you.
Thank you, Madam President, Dr. Osowski. I will start with our construction update and I will have Mrs. McMinn provide our construction update, which is very timely considering we have many houses coming in and we have lots to do to prepare.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board, Superintendent Chavez. Thank you for allowing us to give an update on some things that have been happening around our school district in regards to construction and improvement of our facilities. So you're good. Okay, so for July, we'll dive into kind of a summary of some things that are happening. If you want to go to the next slide. Thank you. We've seen some improvements at Valencia Middle School in our science classrooms. We've been able to update that flooring to the LVT flooring that we're starting to see throughout the district. We also had some significant painting done, Los Angeles Middle School on some doors and windows. As when we had the renovation project, the PSFA project did not encompass all improvements of that. So we've been kind of going back and looking at things that standardizing what we were able to do in the improvements and making sure our other buildings coincide and look the same at Los Angeles Middle School. And then we also did some painting at KGE in the corridors. That's the image on the top that you can see there. Back to standardizing a district color and making some improvements along those corridors just for safety and clear views, line of sight. So we were able to do 3 of their main corridors at KGE. Also at Bosque Farms Elementary, we have completed the new parent drive and additional parking area that is an aggregate drive loop now on the property that we were able to purchase to the north of the school, and that ties into their existing parking lot. We are going to be looking at striping that in the coming week. So then that way on the full first day of school, we should have some temporary striping on there to help navigate parents along with access routes that the school is going to be sending out to help with that change. We also completed gymnasium flooring maintenance. We do have some work at Valencia High School that we need to go back and look at a little bit of repairs there. But overall, all of our wood gym floors have been coated for the new school year. Next slide, some major improvements we've seen that were necessary were some structural improvements at Bosque Farms Elementary. This included some roof coatings on a few of their buildings, as well as stuccoing on the older building, the Adobe building, and getting the peeling stucco removed and repairs made. So this is all ensuring that we have a tightened and moisture sealed facility to ensure the integrity of that structure. The stucco will be completed this week. They're wrapping things up there and the roofing coating is now complete. The next slide is Century High School. We made some repairs to their courtyard. On the top corner, you can see what that courtyard looked previously versus what it looks like today. It was definitely a highlight. We did scramble some teams together to get those tables built and umbrellas put up, which we all got to enjoy under that sun afterward. And just took on the view of such a space. It was such a drastic difference for there. And we're looking forward to students being able to use that for outdoor learning time, lunchtime. It is a lot more inviting, as you can see. So we're excited for them to come back to school to that new space. Next slide. I know this is really tiny up here. We are well on our way of designing of Amherst Elementary. This is a tentative schedule that is our target goals of the different phases of that design. So right now we are in schematic design, looking to wrap that up towards the end of August. And then we'll continue on with our review of it and then design development. So in the schematic design phase, we set up the layout of the new school. We look at that footprint. What is it going to look like? Where is everything going to be located? We're quite close to wrapping that up, and then we'll start fine tuning the inside of it and what the corridors will really look like, where a door is going to be placed, how our office is going to be attached, all those different things. So hopefully in the next meeting, we can bring to you a presentation of what that school footprint will look like and kind of a 3D modeling of it at the next board meeting. And then lastly, this has been the highlight of my summer as director of facilities, is being able to support Century High School students and also one of our Las Lunas High School interns that we had this summer on a project at Peralta. This really was the icing on the cake for the building for us. And we were able to work with Mrs. Quintana at Century High School, as well as 3 of our students and our Las Lunas High School intern on an amazing mural. These girls are quite the artist. They're extremely talented and knowledgeable. I learned a lot from them and seeing the process. They spearheaded, I guess, laying it out on the wall, picking all the colors, how the process went. They were really pioneers on making this come to life. And so we wanted to acknowledge them tonight on our facility improvements. This has been a huge impact for our district. Everyone that has been able to come into Peralta, they're speechless when they walk in the gym. And a lot of this is to the testament of our talented artists that we have in the district. So this is them working on it. They were able to complete this mural in 5 days. You could see the extent of how large that wall is. Next slide is their completed piece. So if you go to the following slide, we would just like to say thank you from the facilities department and enhancing our facilities and creating great JAG pride in Peralta Elementary. So thank you, Ms. Quintana, for spearheading with your students and empowering them with their talents and their gifts. It was a joy to see you teach and to experience that alongside them. We'd like to acknowledge Century High School students, Lexi Lopez, Janelle Lozano, Allison Casada, who the 2 are here today. And then also we had an intern from Las Lunas High School, which we had enjoyed having our first intern and seeing what facilities is about and being able to participate in project management. And she alongside these ladies participated. We also had support from our maintenance staff that were the burros for these ladies, made sure they had everything that they needed, ensured that we had safe scaffolding, all the paintbrushes, paint supplies, and also assisted them when they needed an extra hand. So we'd like to thank Joseph Chavez, Andrew Chavez, and Gilbert Quintana for bringing this to life. So
Are
with
the
that,
students here tonight?
yes.
Stand up, please.
There you go.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, ladies.
My God.
So with that, I stand for any questions.
Oh, my goodness.
Oh, my goodness. Okay, Mr. Bennett.
No, what an awesome job. You guys are wonderful. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Mr. Otero.
Same thing. Thank you so much. You did a great job and it's great.
Mrs. Simoia.
Amazing. Just almost brings tears to my eyes. I raised a little guy from all the way through in Peralta, so I can't wait to go into this. So. I know, right? Thank you guys very much. This is incredible.
So how did it feel to be part of a legacy process or project, something that's gonna be here way after you graduate? What did that feel like?
Art has always been an outlet and a big part of my life. And knowing that that's gonna be there and inspire someone else is big part for us and a big part for the country. And we just hope that you do a good job.
Well, it's all right. This is beautiful work. Do you know what a legacy project is? So it's gonna live on way after, right? You guys did an amazing job and your contribution is immeasurable. So thank you for your time and your talents. Thank you for going back. I mean, you could have told them no, right? You could have said, I'm not interested, I got things to do, but you didn't. So you persevered, you stayed the course, and you did something, you went above and beyond. You're an example of a premier student that we are proud to have in this district, all of you. So thank you very much for stepping up and setting the bar just a little higher. The next group that comes in after you, they got to climb over your bar. So nicely done. Congratulations. Thank you very much for your leadership on that. Appreciate it very, very much. Mrs. Chavez.
Thank you. And I'd also like to recognize Ms. Quintana. She designed our staff t-shirts this year.
Oh, really? Nice to be here.
She is. She's right here.
That's it.
Yes.
Kept looking at you like you were one of the students. Whatever face cream you're using, if you could please pass that on, I would appreciate that. Congratulations. Well, I know the 5 of us will be wearing it with pride next week as we welcome back the staff. So nicely done. Very nicely done. We are very blessed to have you in our district. Thank you.
Thank you. And that will conclude the construction update. We will move on to our budget, finance, and audit reports presented by Ms. Tracek.
You guys can leave if you want to sneak out. Otherwise, you're gonna be here until 11 o'clock, the rest of us, so. Thank you for coming. We appreciate you guys being here. They were trying to sneak out quietly, but when you're sitting in the front row, it's kind of hard to sneak out of church quietly, so.
Okay. Madam President, members of the board, Superintendent Chavez. So this is the state of finances as of the month of June. So this is a little different than the monthly that I normally do. Usually when I bring it up, I kind of give you the numbers as they are the day I do it, which is usually maybe just 2 days prior to the meetings. This, however, is for June, so this is final. So I removed the column that had bars going in this month and then what the budget authority would be, because the budget authority now, as of June 30th, has been finalized and those numbers are set. So these funds, you have the fund number in the first column, the description of the fund, the amount that the PED has authorized us to be able to spend. And then the next column is the amount that we spent year to date, only the spent. Previously, that column was what's spent and what is encumbered. So sometimes those encumbrances may or may not happen, not guarantee that it would. When it comes to the spent, these are guaranteed actually money going out the door. The balance remaining is the difference between what the budget authority we had versus what was spent, the remaining, and then the remaining percentages. So when you look at this, in the past, we've had some funds that were in the negative. We cannot end that way. So as of June 30th, those funds had to be corrected. So you won't find anything in the negative on a fund for this. So all of the funds are on there listed just as they normally are. If you notice at the end, I usually have kind of a prior in the grand total there, the prior month's percentage. So we were at 29% last month when I was telling you where we were at versus how we finished was an average of 34%, which normally that number just keeps going down. And the fact that June 30th ended, it's gone up is because we have, there were encumbrances that have been closed, they did not get processed. So they are encumbered, they will follow for till the next year. So some of those expenses that were listed were higher due to encumbrances that had to be, for example, like maintenance opens up purchase orders to various places because if something gets broken, we can't say, oh, we're gonna have to get PO so we can fix that toilet. We have various purchase orders in different areas that are open just in case that are needed to be used. And so when they don't get used, that got closed. And these are the numbers of actually everything that's really gone out. And that's why, to explain why we have a month in it that's gone past, the number actually went up instead of down. The next area is the operational revenue. And you can see that we have the different areas that are budgeted for the operational revenue. And in each case, the revenue was either exactly the same, which you will see in like the SEG, we know exactly what we're going to get. And then the other ones, more funds came in than budgeted. So that is good. So all, we weren't over budgeted in our revenues estimates. That is all I have on the state of finances. Or do you have any questions?
This looks different.
Yeah.
So I'm processing just a little bit. Mr. Otero, do you want to start with any questions?
Well, I guess now I'm going to assume that some of this money can be carried over.
Right, correct. Yeah, so when your number has a higher percentage, that is good when it's something that carries over. So the majority of any of those ones are with large.
The money that was budgeted, I'm just going to pick one out that, I just look at the school bus cameras and
so the school bus cameras was for 2 years. Actually, those have actually already been installed and paid in this current year. So they just missed getting paid in the year. So last one that you would have seen had it encumbered because there was a PO open. And so the balance was 0. However, when we closed the year, it actually wasn't paid because we had just got them installed right at the end of the year. So by the time they were invoiced, they've now been paid.
thank you.
So that's an example of how your number, like before I showed that when the column said both spent and encumbered, that $10,000 was encumbered because we had to have a PO in place prior to the activity. It was a fund that we received kind of late. And so by the time, everything was done, it was actually quite a quick turnaround.
That makes sense. Thank you for that question, Mr. Otero. I know that helped me out. Mrs. Simoia, do you have questions?
No, not at all. Thanks.
Mr. Bennett?
Oh, thank you.
So when we're looking at the revenue, for instance, the ad valorem, 98% received up to May. Help me understand that.
So that is on the taxes, and that's actually something that the PED gives us an amount of what they can expect us to. So we don't budget that number. The PED places it on there as an estimate of what they think our property taxes will come in on. And so we received more than.
So the PED told us 78,000
This, they actually
For the same.
entered that in the OBMS for us on that particular line. That's
And
the
then we
only one up there
received
that.
more than that, or just about that amount again. So that's where we have that 98%. Okay, if we have something like that, is that a red flag to anybody, or is it? I mean, that to me just screams of somebody forgot to carry the one. Do you know what I'm saying? So-
Yes, no, it's hit, so much hits at the month of June, and I think they typically are conservative on the number. And so, what happens is that just ends up going into our cash carryover, and so the variance is on there. So it's, I mean, I'm happy to see that.
So the extra 77 will go to our cash carryover.
Correct.
That helps me. Okay, thank you very much. Thank you. This is very good. I appreciate that. You do a lot of work to keep us on our toes, and I appreciate that you do that. Thank you very much. Mrs. Chavez.
If I also have
There's
the
more.
audit.
Oh, you have the audit.
Yeah, I actually remembered this time. Usually you guys.
That's right. We have all three in one line. Oh,
Yes.
clever, clever.
So I just wanted to report on Tuesday, July 15th, a week ago. We had our entrance conference with our auditors, Jaramillo Accounting Group. Came and talked with the committee and kind of went over what we can expect in the audit. We have already received a list of questions that the auditor wants to look at. And as of July 1st, we started posting on their portal many of the questions that are on the list. So we are ongoing, working on that now. Yeah, that's about it, really. So
when the audit, when they post their questions, part of their questions are because they pick specific areas to look deeply into. Is that correct?
they look at, yes, they look at all kinds of areas. Many things are just random of an area. Pull this, usually they'll always look at travel very deeply. Just certain items that they do pull every month, every year. They're gonna look at the organizational chart. They're gonna look at our board policies. They're, some of those things are repeats of all time. They're gonna look at our bond schedule, at our balances of what we say we have paid out and what's going on. They're gonna look at random purchase orders and make sure that we had a purchase order in place before we did the bus cameras. We're gonna look at that invoice, and if it says it was delivered at that date, was the purchase order in there? Or they're gonna look at every single thing that was, all the bars that were completed and our totals, and make sure that on our financials, we start off on how we looked on July 1st of 24 versus how we looked June 30th of 25, and make sure that they're in the right amount. What we started, what was an adjustment, do the total, our financials agree to what the OBMS has? Are they gonna they're gonna look at the function? Did we go over and by function, which would be an audit finding? So all of those types of things.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you. Members of the board, do you have any questions or comments for Mrs. Tracy?
Great job.
Yeah. Sure, John. It's a lot of money goes across your desk, and I appreciate that you're a good steward of it very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Tracick. So we are quickly approaching the start of the 2025-2026 school year. Yesterday and today, we held new employee orientation. It was held at Los Angeles Middle School. Thank you, Los Angeles Middle School, for hosting us. The orientation was organized very well. It was a collaboration between multiple departments across the district. New staff members had ample time to receive new information in a small group setting, in a rotation type conference-like setting from our departments. And they were also able to ask questions in a smaller environment where it's not as intimidating. I know how hard it is for new teachers and new employees to come in, and you're a large group, and sometimes you don't want to ask those questions. they were able to do that in those small groups. So thank you to our team. Some staff members have started their new school year. Our 191-day staff returns on Friday, and our 189-day staff returns on Tuesday, July 29th. So with their return, we will have all of our staff back to work. Very excited to welcome them. We continue to recruit for open teaching positions. We currently have, as of 4/11 today, 19 teaching positions open. We've had some late resignations that were unexpected, but we will continue to recruit and hire for those positions. So we do have 19 of those positions open, and that's teaching positions. Teaching. As mentioned, we have a new drop-off and pickup zone at Bosque Farms Elementary. This will greatly assist with traffic congestion in the village during arrival and dismissal times. I know that our community members in Bosque Farms will be very excited because we will no longer be clogging Esperanza Road and having spillage onto Green Acres and all the other small streets that lead up to the Bosque Farms Elementary campus. So we're very excited to see how that drop off and pickup area works, and also look at the new updates to the campus. So I'm very excited about that. We have removed late arrival Wednesdays at our high schools. So our students will be on a consistent schedule Monday through Friday at all of our schools, inclusive of our high schools. Our staff times have shifted. We have staff that either reports at 7:05 in the morning or 8:20 or 7 o'clock. It depends on their school site. We have 2 elementary schools that will start school earlier than the other elementaries. That is Los Lunas Elementary and Peralta Elementary. And we are looking at how that works this year, and we will continue to monitor those early start times for our younger learners. Convocation will be at Valencia High School on Thursday, July 31st. We're excited to be at JAG Nation this year and welcome back our employees. We look forward to seeing everyone at convocation and wearing our new staff t-shirts. Professional development will occur next week for our employees. We will have district-wide and school site professional development for our staff. Very excited to have those opportunities for our staff. And when we have professional development, it's for everybody on our staff. So custodians, secretaries, teachers, etc. We will all be ready for the school year. Elementary open houses, believe it or not, will be next Thursday. We will have all 10 at our elementary schools next Thursday, July 31st. Middle school and high schools will have their open houses in August. Registration is occurring at all our school sites. We encourage parents to register their students as soon as possible, returning students as well, so we have an accurate count of who is returning back to school on our campuses. Our middle school and high schools are hosting in-person orientation and registration this week. August 1st is Jumpstart Day for our 7th and 9th grade students, as well as our students who are new to their school as a result of the boundary changes or new to our community and want to have a chance to visit their school. We will provide transportation. We are very excited for Jumpstart Day. Our teams have been working extremely hard to welcome our new students to their new schools. I know moving into middle school and high school is a very exciting time. We wanted to provide our 7th and 9th grade students an extra day, an early start to getting to know their campus so they can know their teachers better and also be able to navigate those changes in their daily schedule. August 4th is the first day of school for grades 1st through 12th. August 5th is the first day of school for pre-kindergarten and kindergarten. We'll be ready for our boohoo breakfasts and our welcome for our youngest learners. Los Lunas schools will provide school supplies to our students this school year. And we are very excited. We will be opening up our new Peralta Elementary next week. We are so excited to welcome our community. I cannot wait for everybody to see the new school. Much like Miss Simoya's reaction, I cried the first time I walked in on that campus. I think it's a showcase for our community, for our state. And with the additional touches that our students have provided, there's no better place than to be in Los Lunas schools. I would like to thank our staff for all their work, dedication, and effort this summer to prepare for the new year. Our summers are not very relaxing. Our summers are very, very busy. We are very excited to welcome back our students for a successful new school year. And thank you to everyone. We're ready to go. And that concludes my report for this evening. I stand for any questions.
Thank you very much. Mr. Bennett, any questions?
No, thank you very much.
Mr. Otero?
No, thank you.
Mrs. Seymour?
No, thank you guys. Thank you.
That moves us to, I have no questions either. Thank you very much. And this item is for informational purposes only. No action is needed or warranted at this time. We're on to item L, board commendations. Mr. Otero.
Yeah, I moved this. L for discussion.
Where did we put it? I've got board commendations on that right here
Yeah,
on the agenda. Board commendations, and then we go to M.
Very bottom.
You know, fine.
That is sent. So, okay, L for board
We got
commendations.
all
and
the
then we'll
more
go to M.
accommodations that were good.
Okay. L for board commendations. Mr. Otero. Sir, on the first page, bottom of the agenda, board commendations. Mrs. Simoia.
Oh, okay, so I have two commendations that I want to go ahead. First of all, I'd like to express a thank you, not only to the students that painted the mural on Peralta. That is just stunning. I want to say thank you to Ms. McMinn for allowing us to have a quick tour of that building and the campus to see how the construction came. I'd like to thank in advance the admin staff and the maintenance crew for Peralta. This is not easy, and it is hot and muggy out there, and they were out there moving stuff. And some personal teachers that friends of mine invited me to assist them. It's a lot of work, and it's a lot of work. I appreciate that. They really fit too, by the way. The other thing I'd like to express thank you is the coaches, the athletes, the parents that have been going through preseason. Getting your athlete there in time, providing snacks. I'm watching you guys do this. And these are kind of adult children of ours, but the coaches and the athletes, parents, thank you guys for the effort you're putting in today. There's a book called Chopping Wood, and it's about preparing. We're from the county. We know about preparing a wood stack. It's not the wood you chop today. You stack in that for a couple of years down the road. And this is what seems to be happening both in our academics and athletics. So thank you guys for what you do in advance. Appreciate you guys.
Thank you very much. Mr. Bennett.
I'd just like to commend all the administration staff, everybody involved with getting the schools ready to go. I know I've been there, and it's crunch time for you guys, and I really appreciate everything you're doing, and I hope you don't run into any snags.
Thank you, Mr. Bennett. Mr. Otero.
Well, it's been a while since I've been here, but I just want to thank all the employees. I know we're starting up a new school year, and it's a difficult job, and everyone has their part. I mean, teachers, the cooks, the bus drivers, I'm going to miss people, but all the employees of the school district, I believe that Los Lunas Schools is probably one of the largest employers here, and it always has been. And there's, through my years of experience and knowledge of what goes on here, is everyone dedicates their lives to the education of kids and to do the best they can to carry out their function, whatever it may be. But to start off this coming year, I just want to thank every employee that's here, and thank you for staying here. I don't know, we lost a few apparently, but thank you for sticking it out, and I wish you all luck this coming year.
Thank you very much. I would like to especially acknowledge our folks, our employees who are working on the grounds. I made it a goal this year to drive around each one of the schools in the district to see how we are looking from the community's perspective. So what's our curb appeal? How clean are we? How are things being stacked? Are we welcoming? Are we a good representation of providing for our community since we asked for them to help support us with their tax dollars. And I have so far driven around 3. Not going to say who, because I don't want people plotting, but I do want to say that the 3 schools that I've driven around, I was very pleased to see that those schools look welcoming and inviting and clean. Weeds have been maintained. The campuses are nice to see from a distance. I can imagine somebody taking a picture and sending it to grandma saying, this is the school I'll be going to. And they would be happy to see that we are good stewards of the community's investment. So I want to put that out there as a specific thank you. Also, I've had a few community members reach out with questions about one thing or another, and I appreciate your responsiveness. And several principals have also responded, and they have responded within 24 hours, and they have been thoughtful in their responses, and they have been specific in their responses. And so I want to thank you for your leadership on that and for those principals. They know who they are, for their responsiveness. I think that is a nice sign that we are working very much to hear what our community's concerns are and go out and ask the questions. And I know people are busy, but that's important. And so I want to thank those persons who've done that as well. And yes, we're getting ready for a really busy time, and I can't believe we are here already. I think we lost 2 or 3 weeks. I am so hopeful that the appeals process for the calendar comes back on the side of the districts around the state who took this as a lawsuit about the overreach of the PED into the calendar. So please cross your fingers as the community, because right now the reason we are at the number of days that we are at is because I could just see us putting out a calendar where we've done the math and we're at 171 days or whatnot. And then we get to tell you in February, psych, that's not the truth. We're going to be here through June because we have to catch up on hours. So I'm anxious to see how that appeal is coming out and watch for the ruling daily. So I appreciate the community's patience as we work through this legal process, but we stand with other districts in the state in that the local community, the local board should have much more say in what our kids are doing and how they're doing it. And so I'm anxious to see that come through. With that, I'm going to move on to item M, discussion and possible action regarding the board's expectation for the superintendent's weekly update. And this is finalizing an employment contract requirement. So in the work session, the Board of Education had the first discussion, and the board had an initial discussion about this in the summer retreat. For a little bit of background, for those who weren't here before, as everyone well knows, the Board of Education has exactly 1 employee. So if you can imagine 1 boss, please multiply that times 5 with all very passionate individuals who we all have our professional and personal desires for what we get to see while we are serving in these roles. Having said that, one of the things that we've seen across time, as the board has asked from their 1 employee to provide an update at the end of the week. It's our job to supervise and evaluate. And sometimes weeks being what weeks are, and schools being what schools are, with 8,500 students running around and 1,200 plus employees running around. And of course, then we have parents, grandparents, and other constituents that are intersecting and interacting within us, that sometimes we just don't get to connect with our employee. We don't get to know what they were doing, how they were doing it, and what they were doing on the board's time. So over time, different boards have had different requirements for what that weekly update looks like. When Mrs. Chavez stepped in the interim role last year, we really did not define what that looked like. There was some flex with the board. There has been some flex, as you've known. We think we've ironed out those little dips and whatnot so that we are now on pretty smooth waters. So the board has been talking about what we would like to see a little bit differently, or if we want to see anything differently in terms of what she is required to provide to us by the end of the week, which is Friday before she gets to leave the office. Some summaries that I captured, please, members of the board, correct me if I missed anything. We did talk about that we like the current format that Mrs. Chavez provides for us. We do not want this to be a project that consumes her time, so instead of being an active superintendent and being in an active and a participatory role and a very present role as the instructional leader of this district. So we do not want this to become this cumbersome requirement that she needs to do. We do like that she has provided us with a quick summary of events that have occurred over the week. One of the things that we would like for her to add is an itinerary, or what we have discussed. We haven't moved on it yet. One of the requests was for an itinerary for what's coming up in the next week or couple of weeks. So we have a little bit of a heads up if we have either if she will be away from the district and needing to appoint a designee, if we have visitors coming to the district or any one of our schools, such as if the PED is visiting legislators or other community or constituents that are visiting our schools, so that the board is aware that we will have external people on our campuses and around our staff and students. And there was a request also for consideration for notifications if Mrs. Chavez is running into a situation where she could use the board's support, and for her to give us some suggestions of how we could provide support. The final request was for more information of her school visits and what she is doing when she is at that school. So what was her purpose? Is her purpose just to walk the campus and to make sure that it's clean and safe and meeting the requirements, not just the state requirements, but the board's requirements for our school campuses to be in the best of repair and pleasing and welcoming for our staff and our students, but also for us to know if she's out observing instruction. So in her instructional leadership capacity, which is mandated by state law, or if she is acting in her supervisory and evaluatory capacity, where she's working with our building leaders and helping to develop them or guide them as they meet her goals, and eventually when the board adopts our strategic plan, meeting our goals. Is that an accurate summary? Did I miss anything or did I misstate anything? So I look for a motion regarding those particular topics and a second. I will make that motion. I move to request from the superintendent's weekly update for her to continue with the current format, which has been a quick summary of the week's events, that it include an itinerary for the next week, possibly 2 weeks of her schedule, so we know where she is anticipating to spend her time, for her to include any information if we are to have external constituents or legislators, members from the PED or other state agencies visiting our schools. If she has any notifications that she is requesting for the board's support, and some specific requests for how we could support her or some event that is occurring in the district. And finally, a summary of her visits to school sites and the purpose of those school sites by specific actions. So I either visit to tour the campus, whether she's in her evaluatory and supervisory role with our building leaders, or if she is monitoring instruction. Do I have a second? No second, this motion dies, which means we are not completing a requirement for her contract. So let's move on to item N. Discussion and possible action regarding the board's meeting agenda for the 25-26 school year. During the retreat, I asked the board if they wanted to change anything in our format of the meeting agenda. And we discussed every component of the meeting agenda and some suggestions came out. Some of those suggestions were that we would put time limits because some of our meetings go very long, which is very interesting. Another suggestion that came out was if we could state or if we could prioritize the agenda so that the most important actions occur at the beginning, with the lesser actions, something that could be moved to the next meeting towards the end. A third recommendation or discussion item, because remember at the summer retreat for the board, there is no decisions. There is only discussion. A third one that I captured from my notes was a combination of the two, to prioritize the agenda and then to have some time limits on the agenda, so to have both actions taking place at the same time. We have briefly discussed how we are going to get revision or review and then revision of board policies accomplished, because we've seemed to run out of time. But that's going to be a topic for a work session that'll be forthcoming. So really, I didn't hear anything, but this would be if the board has a specific motion that they would like to make. If we would like to change anything on the board's format for the meeting agenda. Is there any discussion?
Yeah, I would like to wait to have that complete discussion with Mr. Vickers here, because I know you had some ideas that you might want to bring forth.
Yes, yeah, this is just discussion, so we could definitely put it on another agenda. Any other comments, Mr. Otero?
No.
Mrs. Simoia?
No, I like the idea of the prioritizing for the business at hand, so members of the community and teachers or whatever that need to leave or go, they can do so. And if the board needs to stay late, we understand that that is our role. So I like the idea of prioritizing. I like the idea of time limits, and yes and no, only because a lot of times there's opportunity for additional discussion, and we definitely don't want to stifle any voices on this board. So I think those are all great items, and I do like Mr. Bennett's suggestion. Mr. Vickers had planned his absence, so we knew he would possibly not be able to be here for this meeting. So I think we should bring this item up at another board meeting. I would also like to suggest, and this is something that we have done and we can talk about it at the next meeting. We used to address a policy per board session rather than a work. And that way we were getting through them and reviewing them. So it was just one policy per board session that could go through and discuss and vote accordingly. So that might be something we want to consider and to bring up at that time.
Okay. So we have no motion, and that means no action. So this was for informational purposes only. And we will put item N on the next board agenda.
Put the agenda on the agenda.
We'll put the agenda on the agenda.
We'll have a meeting to schedule.
Possibly.
Okay.
We are moving on to item O, discussion and,
She appointed.
I'm sorry,
Mr. Clerk, I'm sorry.
that's okay.
So we're not gonna do a motion to table this. It was gonna not take action on it.
That is correct. That is correct, because it was discussion and possible action, so right now it has only been discussion.
Thank you.
You are welcome. We are on item O, discussion and approval of NMSBA Policy Advisory 267 Board Policy J3150, use of cell phones and electronic devices in schools. I would stand for a motion regarding one of the two options for Board Policy J3150, use of cell phones and electronic devices in schools.
Madam President,
Mrs. Simonia.
I would like to move that we adopt the NMSBA J-3150 Advisory 267 Alternative 1 as our cell phone and electronic device policy.
The second.
Mrs. Seymour has moved and Mr. Bennett has seconded to adopt NMSBA Policy Advisory 267, Board Policy J 3150, alternative number 1. Is there any discussion?
Yes, Madam President?
Mhm.
Just wanted to go ahead and note the difference between the two policies. One is pretty much can't have it at all, which would eliminate, because we do issue electronic devices to our students in their classroom, so it kind of goes against everything. Here, have the device, but you can't use it. That was alternative number 2. The other thing I would approve of with the alternative number 1 option is that basically it gives the school principals within compliance the autonomy to make the rules regarding student use of wireless device. Nothing in the policy prohibits the complete prohibition of the student use or possession of an electronic device. And that's the fact that the communication device basically could differ between middle school, high school, elementary school. So it does give the principals some authority over their campus. We ourselves as a board would like some autonomy from PED. I can understand where our principals would like some autonomy to be able to make their rules.
So what I will say is, I think that these two policies, I want to rip them up and rewrite them. And then let me tell you why. Alternative number 2 specifically grants school principals may also make rules. It says this language: school principals may also make rules with the approval of the superintendent to restrict student use of wireless communications. So that absolutely gives school principals the autonomy. Alternative 1 doesn't say that at all. It says school principals with the approval of the superintendent and in compliance with board policy
Shall make
rules shall make. But this one says may also make rules. So the way that I read that was the board policy exists, but then we would say to school principals, you have autonomy if you need to do additional rules. Board policy alternative 1 or alternative 2 defines the wireless communications. Now see, I would take out the tablet computer. I would strike 2 because we hand students tablets, and I don't know what NMSBA was thinking there, and or a laptop, but it's very specific about cellular phones, smartphones or smartwatches, or gaming devices. It prohibits those during instructional hours and class time. So I don't see that either one is a quality policy. I see that it's confusing. Alternative 1, I didn't see those clear definitions in alternative 1. So we don't have any strong language that says, don't bring your Game Boys to school.
Alternative 1 is on page 14, and it's on the last page.
Only thing they never.
It's not as
Okay,
clearly
so I'm
identified.
sorry, then I did not read that
Yeah.
far. But I would still strike tablet computer and laptop computer because we hand students tablets and laptops in this district. I didn't feel like alternative 1 was strong enough. I felt like alternative 2, it specifies, it says, notwithstanding the foregoing, and this is for this, the language is similar but not the same. A school principal may grant approval for possession and use of a wireless communication device by a student during class time or instructional hours for the following reasons: health, safety, and emergency, an individual education program, or section 504, classroom or instructional related activities under the supervision of the classroom teacher, or reasons determined appropriate by the building principal. So in that same language in alternative 1, neither the district nor any school shall establish a rule or otherwise prohibit students from using wireless communication devices for. So
But the other assistant technologies that
Right.
aid in disability, accessibility, communication.
Right, right.
So
we can't-
basically, they.
But see, what
yeah.
I'm saying is, I
Mhm.
didn't see that. This is where I'm saying, between the two, I just don't see, I see that if you're. In alternative number one, there's the appearance that building principals have more autonomy, but I see some language in alternative two, which is more explicit, that building principals have the autonomy, and we're very clear. So Mrs. Chavez, what's the preference for the building leaders?
So I can have some of them here. That's why they're all here this evening, because this directly impacts their day-to-day
does.
tasks that they're assigned, because they will be responsible for enforcing this policy. I do not like on alternative one, with the first sentence, the board prohibits the use of wireless communication devices by students during instructional hours and class time, and then follows up with what the wireless communication device is. Now, if we were to strike through what some of those defined devices are, that would be more understandable. We also do have esports clubs and now course offerings, so those are gaming devices that the district does provide. So that's another device that is used in our schools. So I think both of these policies have some similarities, but it's embedded on how you find the information, which is not very clear. But that first sentence, the board prohibits the use of wireless communication devices by students during instructional hours and class time. It sets a tone at the beginning. Whereas the other policy, alternative one, school principals, with the approval of the superintendent and in compliance with board policy and administrative regulations, shall make rules regarding student use of wireless communication devices during instructional hours. That opens on a different note as far as the policy and developing those procedures. I do have principals here from the majority of our schools that represent all three levels, and I welcome any of them to come up to the podium to discuss a little bit more about what they have set forth as far as procedures. Mr. Story, would you like to come to the podium? Ms. Lotero and Ms. Toledo, will you join him as well? Thank you. So these are our high school, some of our high school administrators. Did you self-secure? Did we self them? Yes.
There you go.
It's got it. Madam President, members of the board, Superintendent Chavez, we have created a student handbook for the high schools that hasn't been in effect for about 2 years or so. So we collaborated and worked on it as a team between all three sites. And so and we've modified it from what the middle school already had created last year in a joint Valencia and Los Lunas Middle School cohort. And in our handbook as written currently, it says to ensure a focused learning environment, cell phones, electronic devices, and earbuds must remain out of sight. Students are permitted to use these devices during lunch and before after school begins. Any device seen or heard during prohibited times will be confiscated and may result in disciplinary action determined by administration. Teachers may also have additional expectations and rules regarding technology, for example, placing phones in hanging pouches, leaving phones to go to the restroom, leaving phones in backpacks, etc. Inappropriate use of smartwatches such as texting will be subject to the same consequences. And the consequences, we have it on a tiered system. So we put first offense would be sent to the office, student can pick it up at the end of the day, and anytime after that would be sent to the office, and a parent or guardian would need to retrieve it. And if a student is 18, then they'd be able to retrieve it for themselves at the end of the day. But I don't know if you guys.
Mr. Story, I think you pointed out something that this does lack is earbuds.
Mhm.
Earbuds are a
Huge.
huge problem, and it's hard to understand why. That's just a different, I guess it's generational for me, but kids walk around with earbuds in their ears and you don't know if they're paying attention to you or having conversations with you. I know that that's something that's part of who they are, but that is not included in this policy. And we do have some instances where students are losing their earbuds because they are smaller or they are being stolen.
And I think earbuds are actually more of a distraction than the phones themselves because they can't hear anything that's going on.
Sure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, wait, you're not all going to? I thought all of you had something different. Was
No,
this-
that's all consistent.
It's all high schools. Okay.
We collaborated on this policy over the summer.
Procedures.
Okay,
Procedures.
and so you're all in agreement. Okay. Okay.
So
You're right, we love it.
based upon that, so no. Don't get me started.
Mhm.
Our policy, company, NMSBA, for policy company has given us two options to choose from. Obviously, this is why we're rewriting their policies one at a time.
Yes.
So you all have the opportunity to read through these and see which one could be amended to accommodate. Which could be more easily amended to accommodate. Cause she's running out already.
Board President, Mr. Chavez, we did look over the policy number 1, which Ms. Chavez explained starts with school principals and does not exclude the laptops and the iPads, which would be instructional materials or tools.
Right, if that's obvious. I think that just has to be stricken. So.
And the condition of your.
I just, as a school that deals with a lot of students with very unusual needs, I think that portion about for if it's used for your diabetes device, or if it's used for your medical care, or if it's used for an adaptive technology, I think that's an important part of the policy too, so that we don't violate other policies or rights.
And that is listed in alternative 1, it does talk about a wireless communication device, if the device is used for medical necessity and accommodation for the student with a disability or student's individual education plan, et cetera.
And the most common we see is diabetes monitors.
And I can see in alternative number 2, speaking about that.
Yeah.
Because I want to say again, I don't like either of them. I think they're incomplete. I don't think that they give you guys the autonomy that you need. As clearly, and I'm frustrated with our policy service again. But I see on the 3rd bullet on alternative number 2. So I'll again read the preface going into this. Notwithstanding the foregoing, the school principal may grant approval for possession and use of a wireless communication device by a student during class time or instructional hours for the following reasons. So the first 2 are basically covered in the other bullets, although I think alternative 2 is a little bit more explicit. But the 3rd bullet, classroom or instructional related activities under the supervision of the classroom teacher. I can easily see that a classroom teacher might be doing something different, right? And it may involve, I don't know, earbuds, because it's not my generation necessarily. But if the teacher then said, you know, with approval from the building principal, we want to have this kind of thing. And see, that language isn't in alternative 1. So we don't have the autonomy there. And that's where I'm concerned about this.
So many of our credit recovery classes require them to listen to the videos throughout the class, within the classrooms.
That's where I see that the blending of these 2 policies, I think would be more advantageous, because otherwise that kind of stuff, we don't give any kind of permission for classroom related activities under the building leader supervision. And I think that that's missing. That's an example of something I think that's missing. Because alternative 2 also has the text to speech, use of a device for medical necessity, blah, blah, blah. This, again, I just don't think that either of them are very good. And especially when it's obvious, the state has put a ton of money into personal devices. So, and I would definitely like to see 2 of those things stricken from the language. And we have to have this in place by the start of school.
And has this been reviewed by Zamora or whoever else is?
Yeah.
Yes, it has. And we just received this very recently, and it's due August 1st, according to Senate Bill 11.
Yeah.
So that's something that came from NMSBA, and it was, I've been asking since May.
Well, everybody has been, yeah. This was at the board leadership training, and I can tell you, boards across the state were pretty hot that this came in so late, because there's no reason for it to have come in so late. So,
I think between the two of them, if I can bring this up, because obviously we do want to take the feedback from you and
absolutely.
incorporate it in the final policy, and we are in the process of amending their policies. This should take a priority. I think, Dr. Osowski, Madam President, the one statement that really starts off on alternative 2 is the board prohibits the use of wireless communications devices by students during instructional hours and class time. Boom, that is the start of it,
I know.
and that scares me. And I don't want to start a school year like that. I think we can take some of the language from this and incorporate it. And I do think that this needs to be a priority.
It's imperative to share it with our students and our families and our
Absolutely,
stakeholders.
yeah. So,
I absolutely agree. I don't like the tone of alternative
Yeah.
2. I don't like it.
it has some points, and we need to probably cut and paste.
So the points, so
And you're also saying you already have something this in the handbook,
In the
something that,
Yes, we created it and put it in the handbook, and obviously it's subject to change per anything that the board approves or disapproves.
So what would satisfy me a little bit more, Mrs. Simoy, and it's your motion, so it's whatever you choose to do on your motion. But if we went with just looking at alternative 1, to strike the language, number 2, tablet computer, number 3, laptop computer. And if we could consider from the language from alternative number 2, notwithstanding the foregoing, a school principal may grant approval for possession and use of a wireless communication device by a student during class time or instructional hours for the following reasons. And there are 4 bullet points: health, safety, and emergency, an individual education program or section 504 service agreement, classroom or instructional related activities under the supervision of the classroom teacher, other reasons determined appropriate by the building principal. I think that may be a starting point, that then we could study this policy over this next year to see which part, because we have the same part: neither the district nor the school shall establish a rule or otherwise prohibit students from using wireless communication devices for text-to-speech, or wireless communication device that is a medical necessity or a health, safety, emergency reason. That's also included in alternative number 2 towards the bottom. I think that the other part from alternative 2 would add further autonomy and some flexibility to the classroom teacher and the building principal. That would be my discussion.
Are they requiring that we accept one of them, or are we allowed to amend them this
we
evening?
could,
Yeah.
It's our policy.
I think you can. I think you can.
These are our policies. These are just recommendations from a
But we
very
have to adopt.
extensive policy service. We just have to adopt one.
One other thing to note, and I do have elementary and middle school principals here, we are striving for consistency. So what happens at one of our schools happens at all of our schools, so that there is no confusion. So I have worked really hard with our team as well as cabinet to make sure that we have this consistency. And so that's why, and thank you, principals and assistant principals. I know it's a busy time of year, so thank you for being here, but you're the ones that are going to be following through on this policy specifically. So I think anything that we decide,
You're good.
blending them together.
I would like to hear, this is gonna sound so strange, I would like to hear from elementary school principals
Thank
as
you,
to
guys.
the use of these devices. I mean, is this how parents are like airdropping the kid, or, you know? AirTags, oh, yeah, you know, et cetera. So I'm just curious about
No,
this as to what is the use of these devices in the elementary school now? This is foreign to me.
Madam President, members of the Los Lunas School Board, and Superintendent Chavez, thank you for this opportunity. Again, the principals at the elementary level, we've been collaborating for a few months now on the whole handbook for the elementary schools. So our elementary handbook will be aligned from school to school. So we will not have various. And in our handbook, we have it listed as non-educational items. And what it says is all items not pertaining to school must be left at home. This includes, but not limited to, cell phones, Apple smartwatches, toys, cameras, their own personal tablets, trading cards of electronic games, makeup, hairspray, etc. We encourage your child to only bring items or projects directly associated to academic learning. If such items are lost or stolen, the schools assumes no responsibility. And our consequences are, first time will result student losing the item until the end of the school day, when the student may retrieve the item from the office or the teacher at the end of the school day. Second time will result in student losing the item until parent or guardian can come to school to retrieve it. Third time would result in student losing the item until the end of the school year, and a parent guardian will meet with the principal. Additional consequences are at the discretion of the building administration. So again, this is a draft, whether you guys, depends on how you adopt the policy, will or can change.
So is there anybody else that wants to add that before I jump in? Yes, yeah, please.
So we also have another section, it's called electronic devices. So I'll go ahead and read that as well. It is the primary goal of Los Lunas Schools to maintain a level of safety that is current and up to date with current trends and technology. And such of the following policies have been updated. Using a cellular telephone or other electronic devices during school hours to call or receive calls, send or receive a text message, take photographs, or use in any other manner that is in violation of Los Lunas Schools Discipline Handbook. The following protocols are in place for violation of cell phone or device use. So we have 3 offenses. The first one is a verbal warning. The second one is the student would be required to turn in the phone to the office, and then they may retrieve the device at the end of the day from the administrator. And the third is that the phone is taken from the student and the principal will notify the parent to pick up the phone at the end of the day. So continued disregard for cell phone policy may result in suspension. So that's kind of a little bit more geared towards cell phones.
Are they a problem in the elementary schools?
Somewhat. Yeah, more of the watches, yeah. Yeah.
So I think one of the clarifications is, I watched somebody this weekend use an Android watch, not just the Apple. And it was amazing what they were communicating and doing. So where you had just Apple, I think that might get you in when somebody wants to do legalese, you know, I can squirrel around you kind of thing. How do you feel about the other language with, that allows for classroom or instructional related activities? Because I can see that, I mean, I've watched some things and some of the STEM things I've been in, it's amazing what can happen there, right? But I mean, we could be prohibiting it, so.
Correct. So oftentimes our upper grades, like our 5th and 6th grades, they do Kahoot. They can do it from their iPads, but I know that across district, even at the high school level, they can log in with their cell phones and they can interact with a teacher via their cell phones. So I can understand if a teacher were to come to a site administrator and ask for that, let us know that it's in their lesson plans and what they plan on using it for. And I think that all of us would be willing to listen to that teacher and make those accommodations.
But it would be helpful if it were supported in policy.
Correct.
Okay, because right now, we don't have that allowance.
Yes.
So the first time a parent comes to me and says, that's not in your policy.
Correct.
Is the moment I can't defend you.
Correct.
That's where I'm going with this language. We can't support you if it's not explicitly written.
Yes, and one of the things that I do see in elementary, I mean, I've seen it this past year, and it's gone back with our behavior matrix, is just the promoting portion. So when we have students having their cell phones on campus and a fight occurs and they're videotaping it and then they're sending it on social media, then that becomes a problem.
I think we clarified that, though. We solved that last year when we had that put into the district's.
Correct. So that has helped us a lot, but then just having the cell phone policy would then just enforce that a little bit more.
Okay, so we're gonna get this flip side. What about the teachers?
There we go.
Come on, fair is fair, right? And if you are interrupting instruction because you need to answer a text from your student, hey, mom, can I spend the night at, or whatever it is. This can't just be targeted at kids. This has to be universal. So how is this helping with the whole reason that the legislature, this is legislature driven. This is not board driven. The legislature heard about this, which means their constituents are talking to them about what's happening in their children's classrooms, their classrooms around their building. We are having to be reactive because of our legislature, what they have heard. So please understand the genesis of this, right? And I can tell you from the conversation in the board retreat, many boards were talking about they get more complaints about staff. So how does this is talking about the punishments to students. I don't see any consequences here for staff. Please tell me how we will be addressing staff misuse.
So looking at what our teachers are doing, we're models for our students. So we need to act as such. And we've talked about that at our admin meetings, and you see everybody shaking their heads because we had a very good discussion about that in the admin retreat. And so as models and professionals, the expectation is cell phones are not to be used for purposes other than, you know, there's an emergency I need to attend to, it's a family member, I have to step out for a minute. We also address this in our collective bargaining agreement. So it is something that has been addressed specifically with social media, because we do have some staff members who do like to get on social media and post during the school day on accounts that are not related to Los Lunas schools. So we do handle that through our collective bargaining agreement, and then we do have our progressive disciplinary measures.
Okay, and those are consistent
across the board.
across
And
the board?
our administrator, yeah, they're shaking their heads. They spent much time this summer. We reminded them a few times that we need to all know our collective bargaining agreement. And so we started with that in May. We had a good amount of time this summer to review our collective bargaining agreement. Talking to principals recently, they can quote which articles they're in now. And we also discussed at our retreat via Mr. Seiss and Mr. Aragon, a rather lengthy conversation about our collective bargaining agreement and how to follow the exact wording, because we spend a great amount of time at the table with NEA Los Lunas.
Any other discussion before we call for the vote? Thank you. Thank you very much, all of you, for your participation, and thank you for your input. Thank you also for your time and attention on this. It gives me great hope that we can, this is low-hanging fruit. This is low-hanging fruit. So to take this and pluck it and prune it, and then we can get on to the business of becoming premier is, I have a lot of hope after tonight's discussion. So is there any other discussion before I call for the vote?
Madam President, I would be willing to go ahead and add the language. If we were to approve one of them, I'd be willing to go ahead and amend some language, taking from 2 to 3. They have it, they have it in different places. And I do agree with you, the layout, the format and the layout of number 2 actually is easier to read. They've embedded some of that same language in 1. They are missing some language in 1 as well. But I still, the way this opening sentence of number 1, school principals with the approval shall make the rules. The board prohibits the use,
right,
is just too strong right now.
Stirring.
Yeah, it's too strong. So, anyways.
So I'm wondering if, before I call for the vote, if the board would be comfortable with, we have to put something in place quickly. Jeez, Pete. If the board would be comfortable with a small committee of us, 2 or 3, quickly combining the parts that we've talked about tonight. And trusting the board that this cell phone policy will go I don't want to do that. Start.
We still would have to have a vote. Is it
Yes.
possible that we just
Yeah.
can't pull our motion and re-motion with some add-ins that we want,
Yes.
including what
Yeah.
the principles of that?
Right, would you be willing to amend your motion?
Yes, I'd be willing to amend my.
Dr.
motion.
Osowski,
Yes.
if I may, provide one suggestion. Just because we passed one tonight does not mean we can't come back and review it and go through a work session and we can line item some information. But we can have something in place as far as meeting the requirements, but that does not mean we can't come back and look at this next month.
That is correct.
I think that's a
So-
good idea.
How would you like to amend your motion? Mrs. Seaver?
Well. I would, if basically, do we even need to amend the motion or do we adjust this? Do we need to amend the motion or do we need to, go ahead, Brandon.
Madam President,
Yeah.
members of the board, what are you leaning at? You like the language in two, but you don't like the title, the first sentence?
No, the format, actually, I like the language in one. I would like to take some of the language, the way that the number 2 is structured. It basically says where you can't ban a cell phone, such as health, safety. And this one, it blends it in with what you can and cannot do with the cell phone. It's really not well laid out. Number 2 is. And neither one of them are, just so terrible. Yeah, they're really poorly written.
Okay, but if we just accept one of the policies here, then we might be contradicting what we've just been told. You know, they've got to do their handbooks and what have you, and so I don't know,
I think-
we have to make some quick adjustments like right now.
So I'm in agreement that we can adopt something tonight with a couple of changes, but then we could also put this back up on as a priority for the next board meeting, with some revised language in a format that's more acceptable. So one of the things I would immediately though want to see happen is that we strike the language number 2, tablet computer, and number 3, laptop computers. Because crying out loud, we're handing devices out next week. So I mean, that's pretty silly to say you can't have them, but we're gonna hand them to you. I mean,
Can't we just add
we can strike that.
we,
language.
you know, can't we just put that in accordance with the handbook, the high school handbook and the elementary handbook in there?
But then we have language here that says tablet, computer, and laptop. So that's what I'm saying. We explicitly remove that. So that's a quickie that we could do right now before we come back.
But like Mr. Otero said, if we do this and then they've got a handbook and they're contradicting, I think we need to put to where their handbook also
Mirrors.
is line with the policy.
Yes.
So it does have including but not limited to, so it's not an all-inclusive list. So it has some definition of what that device looks like, but it's not all inclusive of earbuds. I can't think, what else do we have?
So, but that's something that we could
Smartwatches,
do
et
that.
cetera.
We could clarify that for the next revision, but so that you have so that we're meeting the expectations of law. For August 1, we could do some quick things here if Mrs. Simoy is willing to amend. So a recommendation is striking 2 and number 3, and then inserting not the paragraph notwithstanding from alternative 2. Notwithstanding the foregoing, a school principal may grant, and we could put that immediately under the first paragraph, and then we can make an effort to rewrite this for the next.
Could we substitute, rather than strike, put personal tablet, personal laptop?
Oh, that would be good.
Because that basically eliminates that right there. We could amend
Right.
those
That's
two.
And why?
That's better.
This basically, for the description of what's prohibited, it talks about the wireless devices and one. What they're trying to say is basically, what we're trying to say is, you can use your tablet that we issue and your computer that we issue, but you're not bringing your personal tablet or your personal laptop.
And didn't I hear earbuds?
Or
Yeah,
your
in
smartphone.
You want that in here?
Yeah.
Smartwatch.
Do you want that in here? Do you want us to be explicit about earbuds? speak now or forever hold your peace. It's kind of like a marriage.
Yes.
And now are earbuds a brand? Do we have to say? No, earbuds in general.
Earbuds.
Thank you. And what?
This is rather informal and I appreciate that you are being
But
really
thank you.
flexible with us. But we're all doing this on the fly.
There's a pizza party at 9, stick around. I'm just saying. Mr. Otero caught smartphone or smartwatch. So smartwatch is pretty all encompassing Apple. Okay. So smart would be
Fitbit.
any kind of a.
Okay, let's wrap this up.
You got it.
Catch us
So-
because you guys
those
start this
smartphones
until we
out
come back again. So listen critically and tell us what we need to fix. You're gonna have to live with this for a month, okay? Until we see your policies and we write it again. You have to live with this. And we know that the first 30 days can be interesting. So listen again about what wireless communication device is. As used in this policy, wireless communication device means a portable electronic device capable of transmitting voice, text, or data, including but not limited to one, cellular phones, smartphone or smartwatch. 2, suggested personal tablet or computer, or personal tablet computer. 3, personal laptop computer. 4, gaming device or
Personal gaming, because we also have those as well. Yes, okay, hold on, we got
no,
this.
this is why I asked.
There you go.
This will rarely happen that we get, interactivity here, kind of like The Price is Right.
Do we have to use smartphones, just phone?
It says cellular
Phone, yeah, but-
that keeps them from the burn.
I just have a question, if I may.
Sure.
Like, what other type of device other than personal are they gonna have as a student?
You know what? You're talking to the wrong person, because my generation of teaching with these kids.
And if we're trying to outright ban these things, I think that's the wrong direction.
I think what we're trying to do with this, and I believe the legislators' intent after being at the board retreat, was to give districts the backing.
Because I think in our behavior handbook, we have cell phone. We have the ability to address cell phone in the handbook. Why didn't we just take what's in the handbook and move it over? And
Well,
like that could be a starting point for our attorneys or whoever's gonna write this. I think there's.
we absolutely
They're making
agree.
it way more complicated than it needs to be.
We absolutely agree, but the problem is we were given 2 options and not a lot of time. So we're trying to put something in place for the next 30 days. And hopefully what we can do is then take what they've written and collaborated on, piece these together to where it's a comprehensive, well-written
Right.
policy.
This thing passed in April, I believe, and we have language in we've had it for years. Cell phones have been around for years.
That is
We've
true.
addressed them.
But we don't have a board policy that's specific to distraction, which is what the legislature demands.
But we don't have the law in front of us. So how can we interpret what the law states without the law?
That's fair.
The Senate bill, where's the Senate bill?
That's a
And
fair.
it passed it, I think, at the end of April.
It
Yeah,
was.
but I mean, what is that? What is the Senate? I haven't read it. I was aware that it was kind of going around, but
We can look it up.
but
It's,
if we're doing something contrary to the Senate bill, then we're contradicting state law.
It's either school or Senate.
Senate Bill 11.
But, I mean, the person that wrote the 2 options for us, they should have the law. I mean, they wrote.
We won't get into the
Yeah.
NMSBA policy and who wrote it. Yeah, they're bad. These 2 options are bad.
We need something for 30 days.
Yeah, I think
So-
if we decide on something for 30 days,
We need something for 30 days and then absolutely be working with, so I want to read it again. Okay. Not limited to 1, cellular phone, smartphone or smartwatch. 2, personal tablet computer. 3, personal laptop computer. 4, personal gaming device, or 5, earbuds or headphones. Can that get you 30 days? Yes, Mrs. Bradshaw.
I think we need to strike the headphone from it because 2 items on the school supply list are a backpack and a pair of headphones. So we're telling people to go out and buy headphones so that it's social.
But in the board policy, it does say if it's for educational
Yes, it does.
purposes, then they're able to use it.
But that's a good point, though. We have something saying, go buy it, and then we have something saying, don't bring it.
Personnel.
Are you there? Within the instructional day, not necessarily for speeding, but we need to make those.
So-
Guidance.
Sure, so I think for 30 days,
And I
can
think
you
what
be comfortable if we limit it to earbuds and we come back?
I think it's headphones and earbuds that are hooked up to personal devices. But it's not headphones and earbuds that are hooked up to a school issued device.
Well, I don't think you're banning those devices. You're just defining what those classroom or those wireless communication devices are.
That's what that's the seg,
Correct.
as used in this policy, a wireless communication device means. And that's what they're defining. And they say when you can and cannot use them.
It does give the ability to use them at certain times during the day, but it does define what those are.
I still say we're sending a mixed message right there. So if we could start with earbuds for 30 days and then let's move on. Let's get it cleaned up.
Okay, well, Madam President,
Okay.
I wish to amend my motion.
Okay, good luck.
Good
With
luck.
ya.
Ready?
You have my support.
There we go. To approve alternative 1 of the Mexico School Board Association policy J-3150 with the addition of the following changes on page 3. Including but not limited to number 2, personal tablet computer. Number 3, adding the word personal in front of laptop computer. Number 4, striking the word or and adding in front of number 4, personal gaming device. And adding number 5, earbuds.
Will you amend your second, Mr. Bennett?
Yes.
We've had lots of discussion. Thank you.
We need to
I
change.
think we need to be clear that we're not satisfied with this, and so we'll come back and revisit this.
Dr. Osowski, one quick, I did pull up Senate Bill 11 and it is very similar to what's written in this policy,
In the alternative?
both.
Yes, I know.
Well, Senate Bill 11. So the language is very similar to what has ended up in policy. Yeah, so I printed those. So it, in some instances, it even has the same language. They take it straight from Senate Bill 11 into the policy.
Yeah, but
Never mind.
we.
Yeah, so.
We have policy
We'll have
on
that,
that, right?
yeah.
Okay. I'm gonna call for a vote. I would like to be really clear that we're going to be revisiting this at the next meeting. And I welcome seeing what the principals have done. Sounds like you guys have done a lot of really good work and we need to incorporate it into this policy, whatever final one, but we have 30 days. Okay, I'm calling for the vote, which means I have to get back over to this stack of papers. And it's this stack of papers. Mrs. Simoia, this is your motion. How do you vote?
I vote yes.
Mr. Otero,
Yes.
Mr. Bennett,
Yes.
and I vote yes, motion passes 4-0. Thank you for everybody, for appreciation. I appreciate your input. Okay. Discussion, and we're on item P. Principals, do you want to go home? Anybody else want to go home except for the board and the cabinet? We'll excuse you. No, I said except. Nice try, you two.
I'm gonna ask her for it in order.
Oh. Sure.
Yeah, Madam President,
Mrs. Simoia.
do I move myself?
It may.
Yeah.
I'll make the motion.
Would you like to make a motion?
Yeah.
I'll do this. Yeah.
I move that, that the board, sign Ms. Simoia to finalize the policy and forward it to NMSBA.
For draft. I will second that motion.
Okay, I want to have a discussion in there. We don't have to forward to NMSBA until we approve. So
We can,
she can draft for the board to then review and approve. And then after that, we tell NMSBA what's a policy. We don't have to get their approval. So just that's a clarification in the
Okay,
protocol.
well, not, okay,
yeah.
well,
That's just a clarification in protocol.
sure.
So,
Yeah. But we're not asking for approval, we're just.
we're telling them what we're doing.
Yeah.
Right, but they work for us.
On behalf of the board.
Right, so I believe your motion is to appoint Mrs. Simoia to draft the second revision of board policy J3150 for presentation at the next regular board meeting. Is that what I understand?
Yes. Did you get it?
We're going to go ahead and, we're using number one, and then we're gonna be amending, just like we're amending all their other ones.
Yes. We're revising.
Revising, and then changing, rewriting.
Do you want me to try that again?
So they already have it.
Someone can be split, someone know that that word. So that means.
We'll be in compliance because we just voted to approve one. And then we have a second motion to start working on it,
A
amend it
revision.
and a revision and bring it to the next meeting. Okay. There you go.
I second your motion, Mr. Otero.
There you go. All
Is there
right.
any discussion? Mr. Otero moved, I seconded.
She got in for me.
Okay, sorry. Sorry, guys, I got one.
That the board appoint Mrs. Sonia Simoia to revise the newly adopted board policy J3150 and bring it to the board for the next meeting for discussion and possible action. Calling for the vote. Mr. Otero, that was your motion. How do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Bennett,
Yes.
Mrs. Simoia,
Yes.
and I vote yes, passes 4-0. We are on this. P, discussion and approval of school improvement and transformation SIT funding. Mrs. Chavez.
I will turn this over to Ms. Montano.
Madam President, members of the board, Superintendent Chavez. The school improvement transformation funding is a sub-grant for Title I, which funds Century High School. This funding supports CHS in their more rigorous intervention status. For tonight, I believe this will be just for discussion. Ms. Claire Toledo, the principal of Century Highs, has a presentation for us. The presentation is going to give us some background about the journey on the MRI status, how the funding has supported that journey, and how this funding will continue to support the journey. Ms. Toledo?
Madam President, members of the Los Angeles Schools Board of Education, Superintendent Chavez, thank you for allowing me the opportunity to speak about Century High School. This is our opening lobby where we have set our graduation goal for the class of 2025, which we did exceed. We graduated 103 students. Next slide. Century High School is designated as more rigorous intervention, MRI, for graduation. This slide does give you a list of the different designations that are possible for a school to receive. Century High School was, just to know about the MRI designations, they're on a 3-year cycle. Next slide. Schools have to have a 66.7% graduation for 2 of the 3 years. Graduation begins when a student starts 9th grade and is calculated based on do they graduate 4 years later. For 5- and 6-year graduation, they are not used in the MRI status. The measurement for alternative schools was adjusted under Governor Susana Martinez when she applied for the ESSA application during her administration, and the alternative schools formula was changed at that time, resulting in a large number of alternative schools being designated MRI. The designation cycle is calculated off of, our current status was 21, 20, and 19, those graduating years. The next cycle will be based on 22, 23, and 24, the class of. The graduation rates are released 1 year later, so the most current one just came out for 2024. CHS received their designation in the 23-24 school year, late in the year. We did attend 4 days of training with the PED related to our designation. And then we did 1 intensive full day workshop with our staff related to our designation and understanding our designation and our data. In 24-25, we received grant funding as carryover from the prior year, as well as a allotment for 24-25. And we're currently applying for the 25-26 grant. The school improvement plan, the 90-day plan, and the annual plan does drive that application, and they must be perfectly aligned both directions. In the prior years, we funded our extended day program, electives after school. We funded responsibility centered discipline, which is a communication style with students in the classroom and outside of the classroom. And we funded attendance and early warning interventions. Let's see. We did attend 4 additional days, and the PED visited our school 3 times to dig into our data and look at our progress on our goals and our plans. This gives a summary of our graduation rate. 2021, we graduated 42% graduation rate with 30 students. 2022, we graduated 22%. We had 25 students walk the line. Only 4 of those were considered in the graduation rate that went to that 22%, because the rest were more than 4-year graduates. In 2023, we graduated 23% on time, which was 10 total 4-year graduates and 24 total graduates. In 2024, our graduation rate was 35.8. That was 86 total graduates. 54 of those were on-time graduates. And then Las Lunas Family School also had, I believe it was closer to, I can't read the number from here, but Las Lunas Family School also had a graduation rate that year. We were operating 2 schools on the same campus. We've since combined them. In 2025, we graduated 103 students. 71 of those were on-time 4-year graduates. And we estimate that lands us somewhere between 55 and 60% graduation rate. But those numbers won't be released probably until the spring of this school year. Our annual goals last year was that we would graduate 101 students with 67 4-year graduates. That was ambitious. At the time, we only had about 40 students on track to graduate when we wrote that goal. We did end up graduating 103 students, and 71 of them were on-time graduates. This next year, we are anticipating 90 graduates, with at least 70 of them being 4-year graduates. Our goal is to get that 67% mark this year. We have added an additional strategy to our plan, which is lesson planning and working with our instructional coach on really tightening our lesson planning about classroom instruction. Next slide. I'll stand for any questions on the SIT funding and what it's been used for.
Mr. Bennett, any questions? Mr. Otero, any questions?
No,
Mrs. Simoia? No. Good job. I have a couple. So when our funding, when we talk about the extended day program, is that for teachers to be outside of the contract?
Correct. So what we did is we paid teachers to stay approximately 3 hours a week and teach an elective class.
How many teachers are we doing that with?
We had about 6. I'm sorry, I don't have that exact number, but if I think about the number of clubs we offer, we did mythology through Dungeons and Dragons, we did weightlifting, we did art club. Some of the artwork you saw came out of the art club.
And then the responsibility centered discipline, how is the funding helping that?
So in the initial year, we bought the books and we had the trainers come in and train. This next year, we will probably have the trainer come back. He helped us with a comprehensive plan for this year, but our plan this year centers more around a book study and lots of practice time with teachers.
So will that book study be putting teachers on contract? Is that how we'll be using that fund? I mean,
Allowing them time to plan and practice with like subs and after school time card.
okay, so there'll be some time card stuff in there.
Yes, that's primarily a little bit of consulting work and some time card work is what RCD was at.
And then the attendance and early warning system, how's the funding helping that?
So again, time card work for a team to really study the data, call the parents, reach out, work with them. And then we also are looking at purchasing a early warning system platform. But we'll have to go out and get like 3 bids and figure out which company we like the best.
The total amount on the school improvement plan?
Ms. Chavez, with the first year was 50,000, the second year was 150 or 50,000-ish, and then we're receiving another Susie, 145 is the new. So with the carryover, we're looking at
500. Thank you.
I was pretty good at spending, but I still have some carryover.
Those are all of my questions.
Okay, thank you.
Very much.
Oh, and then, right, the lesson planning, we're also going to do some time card and some subs so that different groups of people can get together and plan.
Good, good to know. We didn't cover that in the work session. Is there any other questions? Anything? I would stand for a motion regarding the approval of the school improvement transformation SIT funding for Century High School.
Madam President,
Yes, Ms. Wilson.
isn't there another application or a policy that we're supposed to,
It's item number.
it's the next one?
It's the next
Okay.
one. So we can approve the funding because we break things up into separate motions. So
Okay,
that we're,
I'll go ahead and make the motion then. I move that the board approve item P, discussion and approval of school improvement and transformation SIT funding.
Second. Thank you, Mr. Bennett. Mr. Otero has moved and Mr. Bennett has seconded to approve the school improvement and transformation SIT funding as was presented to the board. Is there any discussion? I'm going to call for the vote. Mr. Otero,
Yes.
Mrs. Simoia,
I vote yes.
Mr. Bennett,
Yes.
and I vote yes. Motion passes 4-0. We're now on item Q. Discussion and approval of the Title I Board Education Narrative. Mrs. Chavez.
Madam President, Dr. Osowski, I will turn this over to Ms. Montano, our Assistant Superintendent.
Madam President, members of the board, Superintendent Chavez. The Title I narrative is part of the school improvement transformation funding application that you just approved for Century High School. A rough draft and a rubric of this narrative has been given to the Board of Education in a work session prior to this meeting. The narrative is a commitment from the board to support this funding and will be submitted in the final application. And I believe that we will be presenting that for an approval in the future board meeting.
That is correct. Is there any discussion on this? Any conversation? Questions?
Do we need to,
Have a motion?
do we, Dr. Ozowski had some concerns with some of the language, and since the narrative is coming from the board and it was presented to us this evening, do we need to assign someone from the board to review and bring it back for approval?
Yes, I believe that would be the easiest line of communication.
A volunteer?
I am happy to volunteer.
Madam President,
Mrs. Simoia,
I move that the board appoint Dr. Ozowski to review the narrative, our Title I board narrative. And bring it back to our next regularly scheduled board meeting for final approval. But we have to have it done.
We're
Yeah,
gonna have to have a
by-
special meeting.
We'll have to have a special meeting for this.
But it could be the only item. on
The only item, correct, and that will be the only item on the
It'll be
agenda.
The only item on the agenda.
Thank you.
Yes. So would you like to amend your motion? Because you said regular.
To the, to an emergency meeting to be held. Do we have a
Can't
date?
say emergency, it's special.
Special meeting to be held. I'm sorry, I'm out of copy at this point, y'all. Yeah.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Mr. Bennett. Mrs. C. Moya has moved and Mr. Bennett has seconded to appoint myself, Dr. Osowski, to review what has been presented for the Board of Education's narrative for the Title I SIT application. Bring it back to the board during a special meeting, which will be called for early next week. Is there any other discussion? I'm gonna call for the vote. Mrs. Simoia, this was your motion.
I'll vote yes.
Mr. Otero,
Yes.
Mr. Bennett,
Yes.
and I vote yes, motion passes 5-0 or 4-0, some number.
You have a copy too?
I am always a copy. I'll be on more. Okay. That brings us to, we are on the items that were not consented under R4A. This is under the Finance Committee items in which the meeting was held July 15, 2025. Number 4 is the approval of purchases. A, Artem Technologies Incorporated for district Wi-Fi equipment from the for the technology department out of Fund 31600, which is funded by 3 mil monies. I am one of the board members who dissented this. So part of the reason I am the only one who dissented. Part of the reason I wanted this, or I dissented this, is so that we could inform the public of how these monies are being spent. And provided that advanced warning in the Finance Committee. Mrs. Otero, you, or Mrs. Chavez, that was a little. Mrs. Chavez, if you could help us with a presentation on that, please.
Yes, absolutely, Madam President, Dr. Osowski. I will actually turn this over to Sandy Tracek, our CFO, who will probably turn over to Mr. Mike Good, our Director of IT Operations.
You just want to say tag? At this point, it was a little slow.
Okay, Madam President, members of the board, Superintendent Chavez. I guess we'll start here and then we'll see. The purchases that we do have for this is with Artem, and it is totaling $540,491. And it is for access points, Wi-Fi access points for the Los Lunas School District. We do have some updated in several of the schools. Peralta being one of them with the new construction, and then 3 other school sites. And this is kind of updating the rest of the schools, so we can all be kind of better equipped for Wi-Fi in our schools. So kind of leveling the playing for the schools.
And this is coming out of 3 mil, which the voters just recently approved about a year ago.
Correct.
We're very happy about that. And so my understanding from finance is all schools now will be equally updated. Yes,
The
there's some
higher-
installation time, but yes, the whole purpose is so that everybody is treated equally across our schools with updated access point coming from our 3 mills.
Correct. So this will help, and correct me if I'm wrong with anything. So, yes, because, Wi-Fi is always such a huge subject, and it is difficult, in certain areas to get updated. So giving us a higher technology will help all these other school sites also. So it
What's
would
the
be,
anticipated timeline for completion?
that I am not aware on.
Soon after we receive the equipment, they don't take long to install. It's just a swap of access points.
So you see this being accomplished fairly quickly.
Very quickly, within weeks, possibly a month or so.
Is there any? I will stand for a motion. Thank you, Mrs. Tracy. I appreciate it. I will stand for a motion regarding item R4A.
Madam President,
Mrs. Simoia,
I move that we approve the purchase of item on the consent item 4A, approval of purchase for Artem Technologies, Inc., the district Wi-Fi equipment technology department, out of the 31,600 account, monies out of 3 mil.
The second.
thank you, Mr. Bennett. Mrs. Simoia has moved and Mr. Bennett has seconded to approve the purchase of district Wi-Fi or access points from Artem Technologies Incorporated for the technology department out of Fund 31600, which are 3 mil monies. Is there any discussion?
Madam President,
Yes.
in the finance meeting, it was explained to us by Mr. Good that basically, if we do not, there is some technology, older technology that will not sync. Is that correct?
If we want to move forward now, we would not be compatible with newer technologies.
Correct. So basically, this is keeping us in speed, right?
That's right.
Good point. Nice clarification. Thank you very much. Is there any other discussion?
Yeah.
I'm going to call for the vote. Mrs. Simoia,
I vote yes.
Mr. Otero,
Yes.
Mr. Bennett,
Yes.
and I vote yes. Motion passes 4-0. We're on to item R4B. This was a dissent, also mine. It is for Apple Computer, and it is to purchase charging stations for school sites from Apple Computer and iRepair New Mexico for the technology department, also out of Fund 31600 from our 3 mil funds. Mrs. Chavez?
I will, thank you, Madam President, Dr. Osowski. I will have our CFO, Ms. Tracek, explain in further detail.
Hey, Madam President, members of the board, Superintendent Chavez. So this does have purchase for carts and charge cabinets. It mentions how some of the carts that were first purchased when we received the Apple Award for the connected schools about 10 years ago. I'm actually shocked I remember that, and so I can't believe it's already been 10 years. Some of these are where some of the school sites are still using those carts, and they're beginning to lose in usability, along with outdated cables for the connections of the charging of the iPads. So that is the first purchases as that we're trying to replace some of those existing outdated carts and to supply other classrooms with carts for iPads throughout the district. A few, they have the lock and charge carts, and they're opting not to replace those certain types of carts. And there is quite a few. It has a list of all the different schools and how many carts that they'll be purchasing for them. Also, some charging cabinets just for Valencia Middle School are on here. Are there any questions on?
And the totals for this purchase is how much?
The Apple computer is at almost 236,000, and the repair is at 81,250.
Would stand for a motion to approve the purchase of charging stations and school sites for the technology department out of Fund 31600 from 3 mil monies from the vendor Apple Computer and iRepair New Mexico.
Madam President,
Mrs. Simoia.
I'll approve consent item 4B, Apple Computer and iRepair New Mexico charging stations for school sites out of the technology department, 31,600 out of the 3 mil.
Thank you, Mrs. Simoia. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Bennett. Is there any discussion? I'm gonna call for the vote. Mrs. Simoia,
I vote yes.
Mr. Otero,
Yes.
Mr. Bennett,
Yes.
and I vote yes. Motion passes 4-0. Thank you, Mrs. Tracy. We're on item R, Finance Committee items. F, approval of construction contract. A, change orders for Los Angeles High School Athletic Field Improvement Project. The changes would occur with the CES vendor Anchor Built Construction. It would be for the Facilities Department out of Fund 31162 from our bond monies. Mr. Otero, you dissented this item.
Yes, I just have a question. What are those change orders for?
Mrs. Chavez?
Thank you, Madam President, Dr. Sowski, and Board Member Mr. Otero. I will actually turn this over to Ms. Tracek once again, who may possibly turn over to Ms. McMinn to discuss what those changes are.
Madam President, members of the board, Superintendent Chavez, I guess I'm gonna go ahead and turn it over to Tiffany because I think she can explain. I know it's extremely important that it needs to be done. However, I think she can explain it in better detail, so.
Madam President, members of the board, Superintendent Chavez, Mr. Otero. So this encompasses 3 different aspects of a change order for the high school stadium project, which we're currently building a concession and restrooms as well as the front entrance walkway there. This is going to improve some of the drainage issues that we've been having with the recent rainfalls that is causing a lot of erosion coming down the hill from the parking lot, from the upper high school down. We're seeing a lot of erosion around the drive path. So what we're going to be doing is correcting asphalt that is currently sinking due to that erosion, as well as adding concrete curbing to prevent the water from spilling over onto our stadium running track and impeding the integrity of the new building we're putting up. It is also going to be lowering a manhole. If anyone's aware of the stadium, you drive up and there's a large manhole that sticks quite a bit out of the ground that you have to drive around. Since we're going to be working in that area, a lot of erosion has happened around that. We will be lowering it to a level that will be drivable on top of. We're also going to be adding fencing around a new retaining pond that will be capturing some of this water adjacent to the new concession building to prevent any students or little ones while they're attending a football game from entering that area. So those are the 3 different kind of aspects: is concrete and asphalt, lowering a manhole, and then fencing around a retaining pond.
Is there a retaining pond there right now?
There is a slight one. It will be increased due to the work that we're doing there with the new concession and to encompass the water in that area and collecting. It will be increased slightly there. We also are looking at an overall master plan of the stadium for further drainage improvements in other phases. However, this is one that is necessary due to the erosion and sinking that we are seeing at the moment.
And that's on the south side of the stadium?
Kind of northwest corner, right as before, when you pass the main entrance and you're starting to drive up, right on that curve, that's where all this erosion is happening. We're getting a huge amount of rainwater collected in drainage that's overtaking current retaining flow patterns for the water, and it's eroding. It's erosion that's happening and also overspilling onto the stadium.
Oh, a number of years ago, we voted to remove the swimming pool. Was that the area?
No, this is not. This is coming further up from the high school.
All right, thank you.
I have a question. When that job was bid, did they not look at this and see it was something that was gonna need to be done?
Correct, and that's further in parts of phase 2, incorporating inlets and drainage all along the road there in front of the stadium. However, due to the amount of rainfall that we recently have had over and over, it's unfortunately eroded that, and we have collapsing and potential potholing there, so we want to make sure that's a safe drive area. We've corrected the area and put dirt back, but we want to make a more permanent fix to last.
I know in finance, because we pressed you pretty hard in finance about this, and you had some great maps up for us. A couple of the other unfortunate implications that are happening here is when that water overtakes the curbing, it's taking with it sand. And that sand is then going in across our brand new beautiful track, which is now costing us more in terms of time for labor and management to get the sand off of the track, and we're hoping that we don't destroy that warranty. So it's just the volume of water that we've had has been more significant than we had originally. And unfortunately, this is the net result of from what she showed us. So, and then that manhole, we all discussed the dangers to our cars when we drive up to high school and have to park up there if we're not in a tank. So I know that those were two other key aspects that you pointed out, was the damage. And then also with us building the new restroom and then the concession stand, we really don't want flooding in a brand new facility because the volume of water that we're getting.
Yeah.
So some follow on it.
I get that, but that should have been something, should have been hindsight. They should have realized they're gonna need to do this. I mean, if it was obviously bad to get go, you know what I'm saying?
Correct, and that's part of phase 2, further drainage. On phase 1, we did incorporate a retaining wall that is behind the building. This is just happening slightly north of that area, and then the water just washed out a lot underneath the asphalt that is higher up from the project.
Mother Nature help us. Do you have any other questions? Any other questions?
No.
I will call for a motion to approve item R5A, the approval of the construction contract, which is a change order for the Los Lunas High School Athletic Field Improvement Project. This would be from a CES vendor, Anchor Built Construction Incorporated. Would be through the Facilities Department out of Fund 31162, and it would be from bond money. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Otero. Is there a second? I'll second. Thank you, Mrs. Simoia. It's been moved and seconded to approve item R5A. Is there any other discussion? I'll call for the vote. Mr. Otero, this is your motion?
Yes.
Mrs. Simoia?
I'll vote yes.
Mr. Bennett?
Yes.
And I vote yes, motion passes 4-0. We are on item R6, approval of deletion of fixed assets. This was dissented by two of us. Mr. Bennett, I will let you take the lead.
Yeah, I wanted discussion on this because I just wanted to make sure that the finance committee actually read through the items that were up for deletion of fixed asset board.
So we did receive those later than usual because we had a couple of little hiccups in some scheduling. And they were provided to us, I will say, due to my schedule this last weekend. I have not reviewed them. I will review them tomorrow. But I do want to have more time on that one, Mrs. Simoia.
I've actually reviewed them. Well, the one thing that we would like to be able to bring forward to the board from the finance committee is the opportunity on anything from a deleted fixed assets that are not being disposed of in the normal standard policies or procedures that will be brought in front of the board so that other board members can review these as well. So,
And I think by normal, can I add to your
Please,
language that,
yeah.
for instance, when we say normal, this is for the public's benefit. Because we see 70 or 80 pages of these things.
yes,
So normal might be that it is going to auction and we will see an explanation that says auction. Or we could say, I'm struggling with another one, but recently we were made aware of some different language that is proving to be problematic that was not raised to the board for discussion. And so that's what we're talking about here, is that it would be explicitly raised by whomever's sitting on the finance committee or from a member of the administration so that the board can be fully comprised. But no, to answer your question, I have not reviewed it. That is on me because of my personal schedule. So,
and I did review and there was nothing out of the ordinary stage. So, yeah, we can either dissent them and hold off on them until the next meeting if you'd like time to review, or we can approve them this evening.
Well, I mean,
Yes.
you read them, so.
Fine.
would stand for a motion for the approval of Finance Committee item R6, approval of deletion of fixed assets.
Madam President, I would approve that Finance Committee items meeting held on July 15 to 2025, 6th approval of deletion of fixed assets.
Do we have a second?
I'll second the motion.
Is there any other discussion? We'll call for the vote. Mr. Bennett,
Yes.
Mrs. Simoia,
Yes.
Mr. Otero,
Yes.
and I will vote no, because I have not reviewed it. Motion passes 3-1. I think, thankfully, correct me if I'm wrong, but we might be to item S. Is that what everybody else's record now says, is new business? Hot dog. At this time, I will ask if there are any board member requests for topics to be discussed in upcoming work sessions or regular or special meetings.
Madam President.
Yes, Mrs. Simoia.
Special meeting, next available will be Tuesday, the 29th for the Title I Board of Education narrative review and approval.
Yes, we will need to announce that, but yes, that's what I would call for. Would all board members be available then? Mr. Bennett, would you be available?
Should be.
Yes.
It's one item.
It's one, well, we have to pledge, so it'll be 4 items, but we'll have 4 items. I think our
All right.
record is 7 minutes on a meeting. This one might take, let's see if we can get through it.
Killing my American Legion taco night, I'm just saying. All right, and then Madam President, I would like to suggest that for our regular meeting on August 19th, that we bring forth the board policy J-3150, the use of cell phone for discussion and possible action.
Are there any other requests?
Well, not specifically. I believe we have quite a bit that we still need to get taken care of as far as policies and stuff.
Yes, we do. Mr. Bennett, any requests?
I think we're pretty good.
Good enough. Thank you very much. This item was for the purpose of gathering input. No action is needed at this time. We're on item T, the announcement of meetings. The first one will be in addition to what has been published on the agenda, and that will be a special meeting held for Tuesday, July 29th at 6:00 p.m. in the central office conference room. The next will be July 31st, 2025, attendance at the Los Angeles Schools District Convocation, which will be held at Valencia High School, 310 Bonita Vista Boulevard, Los Angeles, New Mexico, 87031. A quorum of the board will be in attendance, and that will begin at 8:00 a.m. August 12th, 2025 will be the audit committee. Attendance is by invitation only. That will be held in the central office conference room at 3:30 p.m. Also on August 12th, 2025 will be the Finance Committee held in the Central Office Conference Room at 4:00 p.m. August 19th, 2025 will be a board work session. Topics will be listed on the notice and the agenda. This will be for discussion only. No decisions will be made. It will be held in the Central Office Boardroom. A quorum of the board will be in attendance, and that will begin at 4:30 p.m. Also on August 19th, 2025, the regular board meeting, which will be in the Central Office room, that will begin at 6:00 p.m. We are on item U, the adjournment. I would stand for a motion to adjourn.
Don't move.
Thank you, Mr. Bennett. Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Otero, it has been moved and seconded to adjourn the meeting. I'm going to call for the vote. Mr. Otero?
Yes.
I'm sorry. Mr. Bennett?
Yes.
Mrs. Simoia?
Yes.
And I vote yes. Motion passes 4-0.
Thank
Meeting is
you all.
adjourned at 9:03 p.m. Thank you very much for your participation and for your attendance.